have a bid out. So I got to make sure I have that. One for halfway to the low, and then for the low of the day. We'll wait for it, and hopefully that cooperates. I guess these bets are in the same direction because I want market up and oil to continue back down, or energy to continue back down.
All right, it's 11 o'clock. Good show. Thank you to Dara. Great job today with Raheem. Thank you to Sharif as well for that morning show. And then he's getting ready for the midday, so we'll welcome him back. Ramin, Andre, Fabian, thanks for everything. Brendan's in the building, so that's nice to see. Shout out to Brendo and everybody that's watching. Thank you so much for everything. It's the midday show. They're up right now. Let's throw it over to them. It's Joe and it is Sharif. Me and Neil and I will catch you at 2 p.m. Ciao till then.
Meatloaf, baby.
Bang! Greetings and salutations, beautiful people. Welcome to the midday show. That's your boy Joey Options. I'm Sharif, and I'm already involved in the names, so we're gonna have to say hello to everybody super quick. Let's see. Well, we're gonna have to pause that. ONCO breaking out. Here we go. The break is on now into 246. We've got 32s on. We're looking for the $0.50. There's been selling at the mid 40 area for a while. So I've been this for about 10 minutes. 46 is the high, but it barely made it up there into 44. There's 45. We're looking for 1R into 45, but it's got to cross for us to get it. There's a lot of dilly-dallying here back and forth between buyers and sellers. We're going to go ahead and take 1R here and cancel the other order up top. Yeah, no, we didn't get 1R there. So we're going to have to take it here. There we go. Well, that'll take back a little bit here. Now let's say hello to everybody. What's going on? PMAC. Shut up to Dark Skin, Curvin, whatever. Jay Quing, we got 2 New York cents. Texas Boy, Unlimited Potential. Pizza Frickin' Gang. We got AL something, Allen. Shout out to Gorev, iFast Trades. How about King Clutch and Georgie, A Day Trading. My man Luis Frickin' Barbado. That's what I want to see. There we go. We got West, y'all. We got Varun. We got Mike P. D. Ryder. Pablo's back. We got Yee. Is that like a playoff Yeezys? I don't know. Yee. All right, shout out to Yee. Good morning, Joey.
What's up, man? I hope everyone's having a fantastic morning. A lot going on here. I mean, the choppy market is starting to find somewhat of a rebound here today, guys, so not too bad of a look across a couple of the larger cap names. I mean, Sean had the Amazon trade looking pretty good. Tesla starting to find a rebound as well. Other than that, guys, it's been a relatively quiet one here for me. Amazon at the highs, 228. We've seen what happened in Meta yesterday, but nonetheless, let's go over some of our trades here this morning. Hopping into the world of small caps. And I couldn't make this stuff up. IBIT, whatever. We don't take it out the lows. Doesn't even matter to me. But ARAI, all right? This name here, where do I want to get in? And I'm telling you, I cannot make this up whatsoever. Look at this time. Sharif, you know what this color means right here. You know what this color, this is probably my most dreaded color of all time.
Orders?
Boom, rejected order at 10:02. It's right there. And where are we at 10:02 on ARAI? Right around 93 cents. So it's like, man, what the heliante is going on? Like, what is it? Yeah, I know, man, something going on. It's like, man, why can't we just get something rocking and rolling? But nonetheless, guys, 64%. We were trading AIXI the other day. That was an absolute banger on multiple occasions on Tuesday and Wednesday. So, yeah, that's annoying. That's all right. We got plenty of time left and plenty of risk. Let's go over what we have on our radar here today. Game hasn't been that good, to be honest with you. I don't think this trade is looking like it wants to break down. But IBIT, recovering off the lows, good stuff over there. ARAI, not too bad of a look, accumulating maybe. Then we can distribute higher. Then we have Game that looks like it wants to break some 5-minute structure, and then SPY as well too. So not horrible plays whatsoever. Market starting to come back in. You can see a bounce. And then there was Robinhood. Robinhood, I was thinking about taking a potential long, $70. All the way from 68.91, so it gives you a point or so. I didn't pull the trigger on that one, even though there was a high probability of this one working out for us. That's a miss bust, but guess what? In 15 minutes or so, there's another one coming, as they typically say.
All right, man, we got to do this here. There goes ONCO into the area high. It's 264. The best print we have is 62. We've got 32s on. It's up 130%. Very, very aggressive. It just decimated the half-dollar seller. They killed him, Joey. All right, into 60s we go. We're looking for 69er. If we're in the 60s, you already know where I'm waiting now. What is happening? Yes, I love it. More to come on that, because there was a lot of boxing last week and more boxing this week, so Joey and I will be getting into that. 65 now. There is the high of the day break. Again, Luis, are you looking at this? 66 is 69. There is the print into 69. We got 73s now. Let's wet the beak into 73. Still holding. Looking for a little bit more. Let's see if we can get up into the mid 80s. Let's go ahead and post now at 82. So we'll say low 80s on that one. But if we're at the $0.75, I have a bias that this touches the whole dollar in and around 3. Might not make it up to that, clear $3 level, but it will maneuver in and around it. I'm talking high 80s, low, mid 90s, whatever. So it's going to be in and around that area. It could even breach 3, right? It could even pass it to the north side, hit a 303, drop back down, maybe 250, wherever VWAP's at. Where's VWAP? VWAP's at $2, guys. So we're getting super extended here. So we might have to have a bit of a retracement. But the way that I see ONCO is that it's been awfully respectful of the higher lows, higher highs. There's another high of day. And there's the 82 print, Joey. Awesome. Let's go. Continue to watch here. So that actually did cross into 82 because I had my order right at 82. So it's showing me on this platform over here, on my platform, that the high is 82. And we did get the print there top wick. So that feels good. Continuing to watch. Here are the levels. Current bar low, 258. Prior bar low, 235. This one has been respectful of trend. And what I mean by that always is it really hasn't been zigzagging, breaching prior bar low, and then going ahead later and breaching prior bar high. So it engulfs a prior candle. I think Luis would say that's bid non-compliant. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Luis, but I've heard you use that one before. Shout out to Adam. Thank you, Adam. But look, all hell is breaking loose now to the downside. It's coming into the $0.50 here. What's current bar low now? Current bar low takes us to 53. So let's see if we get buyers in and around the $0.50, Joey, because we sold off pretty aggressively from 82 into the mid 50s. Now that gives us a little bit of a buffer, obviously, because we've got 32s. So let's continue to watch here. Let's see if the buyers do step in at the $0.50. Now, if you're going to get in here, right, you get in around that $0.50. We know that's a key area of support and resistance, depending on which side you're coming from. You put your stop in and around the mid 40s, that's about 10 pennies worth of risk. I think that's an acceptable parameter, at least for me. So obviously, it depends on you and what kind of position you're taking and whatever. But that we're continuing to watch here, Joey, as they get bought up off the $0.50, and there again it goes into the 60s. So if any of y'all punched in the low to mid 50s, you're nicely 10 pennies in the money here. Keep your eye on this one. Failing though, the $0.50. We'll get to more small cap gappers because, as Joe mentioned, there is that game one that is looking awfully flat bottom breakish, and this one could be headed back to 30 pennies sooner rather than later.
All right, man. Yeah, let's continue and see what we got for potential trades. There's some nice signals off of the lows here, and then ARAI starting to pull back a little bit. Robinhood, I got my eyes up. Game is looking like it's going to break down. I thought we'd get some continuation because when we were looking at this name earlier this morning, 140 million shares traded, and I understand that it's only 40 cents or whatever it may be, but that's substantial. So we've got to keep our eyes on that one. But I think it's the AI play, right? Like if you have that AI feature in some of these small caps, they tend to run a little bit more, and that's what we experienced on AIXI the other day. So we'll keep our eyes on these things. If they want to take another leg higher, then we have to wait for a precise entry. A beautiful VWAP bounce on ARAI, up 58%, and then starting to come back in a little bit, running into this supply zone of $1.04. So I'm intrigued by this one a little bit here, but I also want to see how this pullback reacts in some of the other larger names. As for the NASDAQ, IBIT starting to climb. There was 20 minutes of consecutive buying there, continuously moving.
I'm trying to pinch myself. I'm just making sure, like you got a small cap gapper up there.
Yeah.
Small cap gapper analysis. I want to make sure, this is a real thing.
This is
a real thing.
Brother, I'm a big time player of these small cap.
Oh my days, man. I'm a big time player. I love it.
You were in here,
You're
man.
A week deep. All of a sudden, he's a big time player.
Yeah, and I was already claiming, the wild thing is while you're gone, I'm like, there's a new king in town.
There's a new small cap king. I love it.
Right, you know what I mean? I was like, where are you, brother? I was that guy. No, but in all...
that, contravened my video exactly, the one that I made Assassino put, the one that you wouldn't play.
I did. What do you mean? mean? I said you could play at your own. You were listening,
right?
eh?
I was like, nobody's allowed to trade small caps. This guy, bro.
Brother, look at this one here on AIXI. Check this halt I got. Look, I put an order in. It was internal order right there, but
hold on, you got caught in halt too?
Yeah,
You're
I was up in the
small caps, and you got
caught in the halt, man. So we were killing it while you were gone. Someone had to try to fill some shoes. Even though I'm like looking at my scanner, you have your ONCO, and I'm like, why don't I see this one up here? So I've been fiddling. I've been fiddling with it a little bit. I don't know why it's not picking things up. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Here, let's pull it up right now. Let's do it live.
There's barely anything showing up.
I know, because I just did some modifications.
You are using top gappers, actually. You are.
Yeah.
Greater than, what do you got there?
Great. From what?
You're filtering by cap. By market cap.
Yeah, what do you have the filter there by?
So I just have by price and volume.
That's it? So you don't have the okay, and then greater than $1 million?
So volume, so my personal, and then you're obviously free to do what you want. I put 1 million, and I put 25 pennies.
Okay, I got 40 cents up there.
Yeah, same.
Okay, let's see if we get that one that you were just looking at there not too long ago.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's still not popping anything up. I don't know what kind of BS this is, Sharif.
We'll look at it during Neil's list.
Yeah, we'll do it. Like your sector diversified and everything along those lines.
I don't even bother it that way. Like,
yeah, no, I don't even want that one up there.
Are volume and price.
Get that garbage out of here. We hit that search one more time. But aside from that, guys, NVDA continuing to climb. We've seen a massive gap up. Oh, there we go, my boy. There, we're back in it. What is this GMLD? Yeah, we're live. We're real live now. Watch out, Sharif. We got a duo here now. Watch out, the deadly duo. We'll call ourselves to see instead of the Smash Bros, the small cap boys. But aside from that, man, we'll see if we can find some good quality opportunities over here. Yesterday, the majority of the session was red, and then I think leading after I got off at the show, we turned things green. And if you look at my shooting percentage, like it's back to back, right? Like start red, so I got to be a little bit more patient out of the gate and allow things to formulate. And then when there's not as much volatility, and then we really hammer size. But aside from that, we go red to green, and my percentage was actually relatively low. I thought I shot like a 35-40% yesterday on trading, and you still have the ability to
make money.
Yeah, exactly, and that's going to be the narrative on today's session. Little red, but again, utmost confidence of just turning things around. It takes two trades, and that's why Sean's talking about units all the time. Neil's talking about it, but it's all the same at the end of the day. Risk to reward. I'm risking 10 cents to make 20, and you get out when you're supposed to. You don't move those stops, and then you go 0 for 4 or something along those lines. It takes 2 trades to get back to break even, and then some if it continues. So that's the game plan right now.
Couldn't agree more, man. Couldn't agree more. All right, wet the beak there at 69 on ONCO as it is undecided, but here comes the $0.50 again. And so far, we had a perfunctory breach of the $0.50 on the prior bar, the low of which was 48. I wouldn't say that that's a decided breach personally, especially because it got bought up and quite aggressively. Now, current bar low, I'm talking about always the 5-minute chart. Current bar low is 254, the current bar high, 72. So the deal is we've got a lower high, but we also have a higher low. So, if you were to get in here, I would personally put my stop below prior bar low into 48. Here comes the $0.50. I wouldn't put it at the $0.50 because you've already seen prior bar breach it on a wick basis and then recover right above it. So I wouldn't go ahead and do that. I would put it at prior bar. So that's 248. So then your stop goes in and around 247. But, it doesn't look like we're rocketing back up yet. But I really want to stress, and I really do believe this, that the topping tail candles on the small gappers. Yeah, I know, man. I got to warm back up. This one, it's not going to be the end all and be all, right? Because when you get a breakout like this, it's parabolic. So it's absolutely natural for there to be profit taking in and around this level. So sometimes that aggressive profit taking turns into one of these candles, these topping tail candles. So I would keep my eye, most importantly, on the holding of trend. The holding of trend for me is holding prior bar low so that each successive candle has a higher low than its predecessor. So that's what I'm looking at there. Just to give you some levels, if 250 fails, I'm looking at that kind of breakout high, that 840 high, the pre-market high, which was 2.25. It's a zone for me between 230 to 225. The reason I want to say is because the 10 EMA on the 5 is at around 230. So if the $0.50 fails and we have to have a trend reset, I'm looking at 225 to 230, predicated upon it holding that level. If it doesn't, I'm not interested. We're going back up to Adara.
Couple headlines here. Both seem to be moving the market. We'll start with USO pushing lower as NBC reports that President Donald Trump of the U.S. asked Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, to reduce bombing in Lebanon in order to help have successful negotiations with Iran. Now, in case you missed it, yesterday there was a huge point of contention as to whether or not Lebanon was part of the ceasefire. Both U.S. and Israel contended that it was not. So that was certainly, I think, something to be aware of here. So again, President Trump reportedly telling Netanyahu, in order to get these successful negotiations with Iran, he would like Netanyahu and Israel to reduce the bombing within Lebanon. I also have to mention Amazon. AMZN to the upside here, breaking new day's highs in a hurry as we get reports the company's planning on investing $25 billion in Mississippi data centers to create 2,000 jobs. Big announcement for AMZN. Back to you.
Jay Dizzle, bro.
Yeah, bro.
You're gonna have to catch a little bit of a timeout for that.
Yeah,
you know, that's the borderline there, brother. That's borderline.
Hey.
Yeah.
Bro.
We're pretty liberal on the show of jokes, but no. Here we go, guys. CYCU being called out by Bovin. Bovin. Yeah, Neil, you know what I mean? Like it's I get it. Usually let stuff slide, but I couldn't let that one slide.
It's funny, like I get it. It's funny, but
Neil.
Dude,
brother. Oh my days.
Bro, it's funny.
Oh my God. We can't repeat what he said.
Yeah,
guys, obviously.
It's funny.
Ram wants to know.
Maybe it didn't deserve a 24-hour. So if you have another,
what's
account,
86K? That's
a day. Yeah, you're getting a day. Yeah, he's getting a day for that one. It's funny, but
all right, CYCU, the one being called out here by Bovin. Bovin, you know exactly what I'm going to say about this, brother. It's light volume. I did see it. It's a decent percentage mover. Closed out at $1.32, the $1.52 high. It's not my favorite. I just got to be honest with you. There are others. ARAI, the one that Joey was pointing out earlier. Okay, now we have to get serious here because we are failing on ONCO and we're pretty close to my L coming in. We're going to flatten out here. So we'll give back a little bit off the top, obviously, but everything positive on this trade. Let's see if it sets up, as I talked about, between 230 to 225. I still like those levels. Now, let's do a little talking here. ARAI. Yeah, yes, and no. Okay. Reason I say that is you get a beautiful aftermarket move, right? You were basically, you closed out at, I want to say 67, 68 pennies. That's yesterday's closing print. So that means at 4 o'clock, when all said and done, that's where we closed out at. Well, for whatever reason, and the reason is I don't care. At about 6:15, this one made a move, and it made a stop, and it made a pretty decent move from, I want to say, around 67 pennies, right, all the way up to about 88. So in the aftermarket, it moved about 32%, just in the aftermarket. This morning, that madness continues. It gaps up quite aggressively from 97, and at 4 frickin' a.m., we do 3.6 million shares of volume in the first 5-minute candle. And look what kind of candle that was, with a high there of $1.25. Now, problem is, we're below the pre-market high, and this one to me seems a little bamboozling. Okay? Every single time this bad boy makes a new intraday high, it immediately retraces. So I would be less inclined to want to pick up anything at highs for that exact reason, because it's going to turn on you like it did at 5 a.m., like it did at 7 a.m., and it did it again at 8:20. And yet it did it again at 9:30, and then it felt so inclined to do it again at 10:10, and it did it again over here between 10:35 and 11 o'clock. So to me, you're picking this up at around $1. You're picking it up at VWAP. You're not picking it up at the highs because it's kind of, I don't know, Luis, would you say this is bid non-compliant? To me, it's a range trade, and I need to pick it up towards the lower end of the range. So that's kind of how I see ARAI. It's not bad, but there's obviously also a triple top I should mention at 117, even though we've been up above that 117 level at 4 a.m. into 125. So ARAI in focus for me. DKI. Again, an aftermarket mover gets a move here at 4:30, and basically from the closing print at 4 430 to the aftermarket high, we're up 134%, just like that. But then look at this. I mean, it's an basically an unbroken downtrend over here with this move. Just kind of breathing life back into it, right at around 10 a.m. 71 and 2/3 penny high. It's straddling VWAP. What I can possibly say is it's getting good defense at 60 pennies, and it's giving us this rounding shape, right? Off that kind of area high into 70 and change, holding 60 and change. Now it's kind of curling again for another possible move into 70. So this might be a good area to pick it up, 62, 63 pennies, and you're giving it to, I don't know, candle low over here. This 1110 candle, the low of which is 59.06. So you put it at 58, you put it at 58.75, whatever. It's up to you. But this one, it does look like it's rounding here off the volume weighted average price, off 60 pennies, and it could be making a move, Joey, into 70 pennies. We're going to pause for a second. We're going to Adair.
More details here with this Amazon announcement. In case you missed it a couple minutes ago, I mentioned to you guys that Amazon is planning on investing $25 billion in Mississippi for data centers. They're going to be creating 2,000 jobs as a result. Furthermore, they're going to be spending $12 billion on data centers in Madison and Hinds County. So I guess that's part of where the money's going. They're also going to be investing $300 million to improve the power grid within Mississippi. Now, here's an interesting thing. They also said they're going to be paying 100% of the costs associated with this new data center campus. So AMZN, they're going to be investing $25 billion in data centers and also footing any and all bills related in Mississippi. Nice look for AMZN, just pulling back a little bit from intraday highs.
How many times have we talked about this? BYOP. Bring your own power. That's apparently the only way these data centers are going to get built out without communities lining up, picketing, lobbying their congressmen, congresswoman, whatever, and getting these canceled. And you want to know what percentage of these data centers get canceled? Over 30%.
Oh, is that so?
Because of community pushback.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, right? Like, why should they be paying for these massive data centers at the end of the day when these guys who are building them have billions and billions of dollars? Like, you see what's going on with this whole AI build out. These guys are tossing around cash like it's essentially nothing. 2 billion here, 2 billion there, 150 billion here or there. It's quite astonishing, to be honest with you. Aside from that, let's see if we can get a move lower here on Bitcoin. I mean, the market is right at the NASDAQ, I should say, is right at this pre-market high, rejecting this a little bit here, guys. And then also the SPY just breaching through that. But what I was looking at here on IBIT is a potential move lower. We have blown past that candle, but this could just be a pop higher, and then maybe we can get a move back into this structure. So that's pretty good risk to reward to see if we can get a potential move here on this name. Now, as for Amazon continuing to climb, it's on one today. It's literally doing what Meta was doing yesterday. 631 back towards those highs. So it's looking really good. What I want to see is a resistance zone start to be formed, and then essentially it's like, oh, hey, okay, we can look at our options chain to see what we have at $40.50 or $41 to see where a potential target or a supply zone may be, and then maybe we'll get somewhat of a pullback. But this trend is pretty aggressive. We have to take that into consideration, and with that being said, you need precision when you are starting to look for the potential retracement trade. Let's head over to this IBIT options chain and see what we got going on. I like what we got. I like what it's doing right now, to be honest with you, but the selling pressure is relatively weak. So we'll start relatively slow right here to see if we can get it back to 40s. If it breaks the high, what is that? It's literally 10 cents worth of risk to try to gain 23. We take that all day, every day, regardless if it works or not, okay? Slowly starting to work for us, and that's exactly what we want to see. It's not that complicated. It's IBIT. There we go. Thank you. So what we, you know what I mean? Things, sometimes you got to talk to it a little bit. Aside from that, Shree, $41, 34,600, and we have a high of around 40.62. So there might be a little bit more topside, and I have to be prepared to get out of this trade if and when it does come against me. But other than that, primary target 39s, we'll take that all day, and if it continues to break down, then we're in a really good position. What are you in? Chris, are you long or are you short? There's multiple ways that you can be in IBIT. Aside from that, also, look at this, a couple pennies, just as quick as you would like. We'll take that and we'll be extremely patient and not get out until it either hits our target or we get stopped out. So let's see what we got going. I am going against the grain, so I have to be prepared to get out relatively quick.
All right, I've got more to mention here thanks to the chat, but I just, Bovin, That's a good one, my man, FBRX. But before we get to that, there goes DKI. It's making a move towards 70. I thought this was going to take a little bit longer. You know, that usually that U shape, that rounded, I don't want to say it's a rounded bottom because it wasn't at the bottom, but it did hold VWAP. Usually takes a few more candles to manifest close to the highs. Well, this one did it in one. Yeah, let's go with one. Bounces off low 60s, and now it's in the high 60s here with prior bar high, the candle green that just closed, 68.50 prior bar high. Prior bar low, 62.03. So we got to mention that one. But FBRX, let's get to that one in a second here. We're going to take off game. To be like,
Time to play the game.
I was watching an interesting documentary about his feud with, who was it? Super chat. We'll get to it in 1 second. With, who the hell was it? Oh, with, what's that guy, Punk, something, CM Punk. CM Punk, yeah.
You see
they don't like each other.
You see CM Punk's UFC fight?
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah, he had one, right?
Yeah. Well, you don't get more than one after that.
FBRX, good call out, Bovin. Yeah, that's bad joke. Up 34%, good call. I don't know how come I don't see this on my scanner, Bovin, but I don't. Great hold off VWAP here. The volume's a little bit light. You know, it's doing about, I want to say 25,000 at the best, you know, lately. 25,000 shares per 5-minute candle. That isn't the best kind of volume. And I don't see it on my, I do see it on my scanner. The spread is 50 pennies. So I have a spread column in my scanner now so that I can just see the spread immediately, but it's trading at the high or very near the high. Now the spread is about 36 pennies. You're going to have to factor in your risk when you take these more spready tickers, like the ones that are, you know, small cap gapping style over here. FBRX is the one I'm talking about there. But I want to bring your attention as well to AGPU. Another one that isn't, you know, up big on the day. It's decent. It's, where was the closing print? 450, the high, about 17%. Also another kind of lower volume name, but as you can see, very respectful of the 10 EMA on the 5. Hasn't breached it, I think, since claiming the level at, let's say, 10 o'clock. So another decent one here. And then last but not least, let's not forget about ONCO. It is doing exactly what we said it would do. Finding support at 225, 230. Here we are with this candle, the low of which is 223, current bar low, 229. Now, what we should be looking for here is either a consolidation area at this level between 2.25 to 2.33, that's the area we're marking, or an aggressive breach of prior bar high. Prior bar high is 247. So you could decide to take the breakout of the prior bar high, that's up to you, or you could wait until you've cleared the resistance we know we're going to encounter at the $0.50 in and around 250. That's where there's going to be resistance. There's support there on the way down. There's resistance there on the way up. It's kind of how things work, okay? So now we're in a bit of a consolidative state. We're holding prior bar low. That's the good news. Bad news is we know that there's going to be resistance at prior bar high as well as that 250 level, so a bit of a double whammy there. So keeping an eye out on that. But let's not forget DKI. Shout out to my man there in the chat who brought this one up. Great look, and there goes DKI into 69. This could be taking out prior bar high very soon, or sorry, prior area high. 7163 is prior area high. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up and load my risk calculator. We've been talking about this, right? So we put in DKI as the ticker. Let's just say we want to risk $50 on this trade. Our stop here on DKI, let's just go prior bar low. Sorry, current bar low. Current bar low is 65.60. So say we put in our stop at 0.64. So it tells me here, based upon the current price, right? And then I can lock it in if I want because the price is very variable. This is how many shares I should be taking. There's my 1R, my 2R, my 3R, right? So this is going to be, we're going to make this available for everybody very soon for the premium members, and you guys will be able to use this no problem. So right now, I'm trying to decide if I want to move to get into DKI. There's 70 pennies. The breakout is on, Joey, and there's a new high of day on DKI, 74.02. It looks like people are looking at this one now and kind of leaving ONCO alone. 7402 DKI trying to hold 70. Let's see if it holds 70. That was a prior resistance level. We know that. We saw that topping tail candle at 1020. And here it comes again. So I'm going to send it to you now while I set up my trade on this one.
Yeah, Jesse, man, I don't know, Jesse. Like, there was nowhere really, essentially, like, I've been in the money since I started this trade. So, I mean, you lost money to the fees, my boy, if you somehow managed to gain something. There we go. Bang. Now we take the majority of it off at 43, 1-to-1. We're sitting on not very much of it. And that's the target that we were looking for. Boom. Yeah. That might be my new thing there, Sharif. I don't know. Was that pretty cool? I think.
I don't mind.
That's the Deontay Wilder right there. And just upload the right hand there.
That was a tough watch, bro.
Yeah, I didn't peep it. I stepped outside. It wasn't a good fight.
That was a tough
when he talks, he's trying to be like Mike Tyson and stuff, but it's like, bro, just be quiet, please and thank you. Anyways, aside from that, guys, why did I decide to go short on this name? Robinhood sitting up here too, Gorb. Take a look at this name. Nice inverted, double inverted right here. Algo would have picked that up all day, every day. Here and then, boom, maybe we can get that move back to view up again. I hit that 1-to-1, and I got out of dodge on that one. So we'll go to another city, maybe Atlantic City. Someone telling me to go over there and say it's kind of like a mini Vegas or something along those lines. Aside from that, we're holding on to green here in IBIT. Jesse Martinez lost money to fees. I'm sorry about that, my boy. You know I'm only messing with you. But aside from that, guys, once again, NASDAQ starting to bounce off of view up. We're getting a bounce as well too. So we have to be prepared. I'm glad that we got out of the majority of that trade at a 1-to-1. What is that correlating with? Look, we're pretty much close to that 40-40 mark, and there's going to be a resistance zone there. So we sell back to view up, we bounce off of it, access support, and then maybe you'll get a little bit more of a rebound right here. But nonetheless, not too bad of a trade. We'll take that all day, every day. And I only went half risk on that one, to be honest with you. All right, so I was like, half risk. Let's see, give ourselves some more breathing room. And then sure enough, now we can just put on more trades and bigger risk, essentially. Go to that 1-to-1, wait for those 2-to-1s, and then have some good quality opportunities in the latter half of the day.
Good look, good look. Yeah, IVVD does look good, Cool Brioche. Another decent one here. Good call out, my man. Volume on that, about 4.8 million shares. Not a bad look, up about 23, a little bit less percent. So we're going to keep a close eye on that. I'm in DKI here. I'm super tight in my stop. So we're going to give it to prior bar low. 65.60 is prior bar low. Let's see if this one can maneuver back into 70 here. Hold trend. But I feel like I missed the best part of the trade. You know, that curl up, that's the best part. And then you're kind of looking for the scraps after that. So we'll see if we can get a little bit of a move here into the 70s on DKI. But we're not going to risk too much into 65. That's prior bar low. That ends the trade for me. I'm also keeping an eye on ONCO. I don't know, man. It's just putting in lower highs. So it's not looking good here on ONCO. To be honest with you, yeah, it's holding 2.25. Sorry?
The market's ripping. Volatility spike. Yeah. Bitcoin moving aggressively. Nice move up. We get out of our small, like not even 10% left right there. Bang, off to the races it goes. Definitely a volatility spike within the market. We're going to wait for Adara to tell us what the green light is essentially on this one. But yeah, market really moving. Look at the SPY and the NASDAQ go. SPY significantly stronger. What does this mean for the banks? I bet you they're probably moving relatively well here, guys. Those shorts blown out of the water. Hit that 1-to-1 risk to reward target. And then sure enough, out of there just before we got hit with that volatility spike, Adara.
Yeah, so I'm going to do crypto while I'm here, but I'll start with what's happening here in the market. S&P 500 on the move here as Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, says, quote, in light of the repeated and ongoing appeals from Lebanon to open direct negotiations with Israel, I instructed the cabinet yesterday to open direct negotiations with Lebanon at the earliest possible time. So Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel saying that he's instructed his cabinet as of yesterday to open discussions with Lebanon. As mentioned earlier, Lebanon not directly a part of this ceasefire, which has been a big point of contention. We also heard reports going back maybe 10, 20 minutes ago that President Trump spoke to Netanyahu yesterday to try to get the strikes on Lebanon to be reduced in order to open negotiations. So it looks like in addition to U.S. and Iran negotiating, Lebanon and Israel also appear to be in negotiations. Let's talk crypto. I'll just pull up IBIT here. moving here alongside the rest of the market, we know Bitcoin had surpassed that 71,000 level as of this morning. We do have a bit of a crypto catalyst today to discuss, which we don't always, so this is kind of an interesting look. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, as of later yesterday, said that Congress must pass this crypto regulation bill, saying that it'll actually be important for pushing rules that he thinks will ensure crypto development and investment remain in the U.S. So we know the Clarity Act has been a huge point of contention here. Not necessarily point of contention, but something people are trying to get across. Clarity Act will aim to create federal rules for digital assets. This has been years of crypto industry lobbying. We know we've heard lots of reports of certain industry members liking aspects of this bill and disliking other aspects, specifically with regards to, like, at what point these become considered banks. That's going to be an interesting point. But either way here, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying Congress must pass a bill to approve this. Before we send you back to the guys, just a reminder of the headline. Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, Prime Minister of Israel, saying that he's instructed his cabinet to open the lines of communication to negotiate with Lebanon.
All right, yeah. Yeah, good stuff. Here it is as for the banks. This is what I was talking about. So we see the SPY is a little bit stronger than what we're experiencing here in the NASDAQ. So what do? We go to JP Morgan, the Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, Bank of America, and you can see that they're trending. We have Goldman Sachs under the volume weighted average price. I don't know how accurate this is or anything along those lines, but the majority of them are, and they're off to the races. There goes Citi, and there's Bank of America right here. Off to the races we go in the banking sector. Bang, that's exactly what we want to see. Crypto extremely strong. Before we send it back to my boy Sharif to see what he's got going on there. AXTI. Did you do Birdman's super chat? AXTI. Oh, no, dang daddies. Okay. This should be
Yo, man.
This should be
you get called daddy a lot in
yeah, Poppy.
Yeah, man.
You don't like a Poppy?
It was a little bit.
You don't like that?
I don't mind. I understand it's very cultural.
Depends who it's coming from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was coming from.
Oh, where was it coming from, Sharif? What happened to that boy?
Oh, but what happened to that boy?
No, there you go. AXTI. Let's take a quick look at that one here momentarily before we send it back. You know what? My barber, he's from Argentina, and he's like, yo, what's up? He's like, yo, what's up, Poppy? And the first time he said that to me, and I'm like,
what?
Hold on, bro. I'm like, pause,
okay,
my boy.
Dude, I can't express to you how many Argentinians
were there
I met there.
Yeah?
I didn't okay, it sounds stupid to say, oh, there's so many Spanish speakers in a Spanish country. But when you go to Coon, when you go to...
No, it's all Americans.
It's all Americans, man. Or Canadians or whatever, right? And to me, it was just like, I hadn't seen so many Argentinians in one area, right, ever. But, yo, they're an amazing bunch, man. And where in Brazil? Florianopolis. Oh, I'm saying it very wrong, Assassino. Did I? Okay. Anyway, I really liked. It was like the first time I'd been around them en masse. I've never been to Argentina, but
rate your experience at the good old Republica.
Really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
All right, my boy. That's what we want to hear.
I'm not gonna go back there.
No, you don't do that. You don't. No. It's not the place like where you go back.
So I went to the Rio Republica and. Say that again.
Oh, has good waves. Yeah, Mike P. Ryder.
Has good waves. Really. Shout out to Mike P. Ryder. Loving it, man. Like, this is what I really liked about Rio Republica. It's away from all the other Rio resorts, right? So you kind of have your own little area, but it is a non-stop party. It's a party in the morning, it's a party in the afternoon, and it's a party in the evening. And then the best part of it is my room was near like the main area where they have like the evening shows and stuff like that. So you didn't have a choice of whether you wanted to go to sleep. You had to participate because you're not sit there in bed and listen to all that like shenanigans outside. Number one, you can't go to sleep. Number two, you just get all sorts of FOMO, right? You're like, oh, I gotta go out. I gotta go out.
Wait till you go to the Rio Reggae, my boy.
Where's that at?
Jamaica.
Yeah,
Montego Bay.
It was actually quite good.
Yeah, it's fun, man.
I did a little bit of hotel searching. If I want to go back to Punta Cana and I don't want it to be like a 24/7 party, where do I want to go? So then you walk up and down the beach and you get an idea of how everybody else is kind of doing their setup and what kind of vibe they have.
The Breathless chain that I go to is a good mix, right?
Breathless is like one of the best ones in Punta.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
It's like
I've been to that one on multiple occasions.
But I heard it's like less of a party though.
Oh.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was told.
It's a little different. Like you got to take it into consideration. It has like the same feature though. Like if you want to get away from the noise, you have that ability to.
Yeah.
But it's more or less, it's kind of like luxury mixed with party.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
It's not bad.
Yeah,
It's not bad.
It's good stuff, man. Yeah, what do you got going on there, brother?
I'm holding ONCO for another $0.5 break here. Now we're going a lot smaller share size than we did originally because this is by no means the same type of trade. So look, if it fails prior bar low, 232, we're out. We've got 46s on, but as I mentioned, much smaller share size as this is not the setup to, I think, really go heavy on this particular trade. So we're seeing if this wants to continue to hold trend. It's got a lot of selling at the $0.5 high of the prior bar because a new one just opened is 48. I did see it weasel up there, and then I saw aggressive selling. So let's see if it holds trend. It's above the 10 EMA right now, but if it loses 32, I'm out. And there's really nothing setting up, guys. I got to tell you, looks like I'm going to get stopped out of this one, and I'm not liking anything that's setting up at the moment. So if you have new ones that I haven't had an opportunity to mention, I'd love to hear them. ARAI is still hanging out in an area where I'm not ready to buy it yet. DKI is right back into the volume weighted average price. This one could be a buy at this area, but I'm not going to jump into it. We're going to keep an eye out on that. My man Kahlua, I was in Vegas again.
Yeah, cool.
The same time you went to the Resorts World Blackjack at the pool for the first time released. What? You were gone, went to Resorts World Blackjack at the pool for the first time released. How'd you like it, man? Let me know because I haven't been to Vegas since 2021, and it kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. Got to tell you the truth, I didn't really like my experience there last time, and that was an outlier because I had been there 3 previous times and I loved all 3. But it was no good.
Your least favorite time.
I got to tell you, I didn't like the club scene. I didn't like getting ripped off for everything because Vegas always you could spend heavily on certain things and then thrift on others. Doesn't feel like that anymore though. Feels like you're getting ripped off for everything. Maybe things have changed now, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's Tulum.
That's Tulum now, huh?
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I didn't feel like Dominican you were really getting ripped off. No, I felt you're getting good bang for your buck in Dominican. Quite frankly, that's just kind of how I felt. But certain things are a little expensive.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
What are you looking at, brother?
Same thing. Yep. Oh, who said this here? Dejner Disa. Okay, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last thing. How, brother? We take that off, we take 95%, then we get stopped out, break even at the other. It went off to the races now, so I'm just looking at it. I would prefer to go with the flow on this one. I thought we'd get more of a breakdown, but good thing we hit it at that 1-to-1 risk to reward. I said this was going to be one of our primary targets right at this support level, and that's where we take it off as it starts to bounce, show some indecision, and then we rock and roll, right? Like you leave a little bit of a runner, take the majority of it off, and then sure enough, bang, you take the break even stop out. So there's nothing profitable on the trade. We rock and roll, and we don't engage until price action tells us otherwise. We'll keep an eye on the tape. If it remains strong and wants to continue to grind, you're almost up 1% here on the day, then by all means, it's going to go that way, and we'll wait for a form of a pullback. Same thing here. So this is essentially what I'm looking for. You see on Robinhood, we have this indecision print on the pullback, and then off to the races it goes. That's what I'm going to be looking for across the board, whether it be in the NASDAQ, the SPY, Robinhood, ARAI. Looks like it wants to take another leg up, and IBIT, right? So we have our fixed basket of stocks that we're looking at, and we'll continue to monitor them. We'll scroll through our scanner and our watch list to see what some of the other big boys are up to. Who is this? AXTI, our boy who just brought this one, Birdman, was saying, hey, so watch out for a potential move a little bit lower here. Netflix back up to 100 smackers. That's looking pretty good here. And this is what I was talking about. So you have this break through this resistance zone in this previous pivot, and then you pull back, but then off to the races you go, right back up to almost $101 on Netflix. I think it's a massive recovery, right? Trend line break, and that's what we talk about on multiple occasions. Wait for the trend lines to be broken, and then sure enough, if there's enough going for the name, then it will continue. You got to take into consideration the fact that this thing's up 34% from its low. So that's a big time move in a short period of time for Netflix.
All right, man, ARAI is breaking out, so let's see now if it can breach the high of the day, 117. We just got printed at 12s. I'm waiting at 14s. I'm waiting at 16s, and then I'm going to save the rest for a prior or a breach of prior high. Now, where I get stopped out is current bar low, the low of which is 105. So I've got 109s. That's a decent R&R for me. Let's see if this one runs. Separately, I'm back in a DKI because it's also back right into that volume weighted average price area that it's been holding all day. And there goes ARAI into 14s. Now it's got to cross for me to get the print. There's a lot of size coming in there. Let's see if we can take out some of the size. There's the print at 14. We've got 9s. I'm waiting at 16 next. And then we're going to wait for a possible breach of 17. It's done this on every occasion. Doesn't have to do it again, okay? It's not a requirement, but we're trying to put the odds on our side. And what I mean by that is every time it makes a new intraday high, it seems to retrace. So the breakout now is on ARAI, or I don't want to say breakout because obviously it's below high of day, but it feels like it's holding, you know, that area low. I want to say the area low is around 103, 104. I'm looking for prior bar low hold into 105. If it loses that level, I'm out, right? So going to keep an eye out on that. And there's really nothing else. ONCO got stopped out of that, so that one didn't hold. Took very little in terms of share size there, but it's another failure here for ONCO. So it's lost a third of a dollar, lost a quarter of a dollar. It's now below the 10 EMA, and it's about to lose that pre-market high breakout. I'm talking about the candles at 840 and 845. So this one might be destined back into 205 too, where the volume weighted average price is hanging out. So that's what I'm looking at there. So involved in a couple of trades, DKI, about a half penny in the money on that one, and ARAI doing decent on that one, but looking for another move into 117. So that's what I'm looking for there, Joey. There isn't much else as a long, of course. Maybe FBRX, but that one is a little bit spready as we talked about, so trade that one carefully.
What's ONCO doing here? Street coming off the highs there. ARAI,
off the highs,
talking about that one.
Stair-stepping down a little bit.
DKI as well, hasn't done anything. A couple volatility pops in there. Someone was asking us, and I don't mean to talk Sharif, so maybe not his book, but again, he has a scanner. I have a large cap scanner as well too, and you want to look for things. Intraday, I mean, it varies. There's segments that you can break the session up to in the morning, the afternoon, and then the latter half of the session, and then essentially you can find opportunities, game plan, Joey notebook them down. Or Sean Katina, man, sticky note Sean, do whatever you have to do to game plan for that potential trade. But it's scanners essentially, right? News driven and scanners. So if you combine those two, you can find some high quality opportunities. Breaking back out says, yeah, what's CoreWeave up to? CRWV. Yeah, climbing aggressively. So that's a pretty good look. Got my eyes here on Bitcoin for a potential move. I mean, if we consolidate and break through this level again and fail to construct any form of a new high or curl over, then I'm rocking and rolling for one more attempt. Don't want to go against the grain too aggressively due to the volume actually being somewhat sustained. And that's a positive sign. And if you look at the tape as well, you can see that there's signals of strength. Every dip gets bought back up, whether it's getting hit at the ask or above it. So I have to be a little bit more patient and precise on the entry, exactly like this one, and then we have to have a key level on which we're going to exit, because with a strong name, the chances of it bouncing off of support levels are relatively high. So if I'm going to be shorting up here with a minimal risk and a couple of pennies, where's my target? It doesn't really matter, but I'm going to aim for something along those lines of 75 cents or so, okay? 40.75. So that's what we got going on here. See, moves lower, bounces back. So the longer we consolidate up here, maybe we can find a little bit of a move lower, but the NASDAQ and the SPY are off to the races, now establishing new highs of the days. Q's up there, SPY on a big-time move. Robinhood recovering up to $71 there, Sharif, and ARAI, I see, is continuing to climb high.
It is, man, and it's holding prior bar low. Now it has to breach prior bar high. We got into, pardon me here, high, $1.14.5. Here's 115. So we did breach it on a technical basis by half a penny. I'm waiting at 16. Reason I'm waiting at 16 is because 17 is the high. Now, I want to post something also above 17. I'm going to go 19. Only reason is, again, this one has shown its, habit of making a new intraday high and then immediately retracing. So I'm very reluctant to want to take any sort of breakout trades, but I'm also seeing that they're selling now at 15. That's twice now, 114.5 and now 115. You're getting aggressive selling. So two topping tail candles in a row on this bad boy. So where do I keep my stop? Well, I'm in at 109s. I don't move my stop here. My stop remains at prior bar low. Prior bar low is into 105. That's 4 pennies worth of risk. I've already made more on the move. We've taken out 15s, recall. So we're still waiting on this one. We're waiting next for 16s. So nothing really for me to do on ARAI rather other than wait. And I'm waiting on DKI as well, as this one is straddling this area low. It hasn't given it up, but it hasn't shown the same type of buying that we saw initially, you know, right at, I want to say, 1110. 1110, it breached VWAP momentarily. The 1115 candle was green, and then we rocketed up 1120, 1125. We're not getting that kind of buying quite yet. I've kept a super tight stop on DKI, so we'll see what happens there. What hit the fail? What happened? Was that you, Neil? Is that you? I have no idea who hit the fail.
It was actually, there's only one person left to suspect here.
Not him.
So how? How?
Who knows, man? It's probably
like my hands were literally like this. There's video evidence.
Ram has a stream deck on her desk.
No.
Which I don't know why, but
she does. Yeah, that's why she's giggling, man. She's
have,
gambling.
yeah.
She's giggling.
She thinks like
someone take
nobody
that away from her.
understands what's going on. She's the smartest one out of all of us, right?
Yeah.
She's got everything figured out, and we're just like these like mental peasants around her, you know, like are just like sitting there.
Peons. It's even hard to get like a high anymore these days.
She's great. She's like,
Yeah.
All right, guys. ARAI is losing prior bar low. Here comes into 109. So it looks like there's going to be an area high here into 115. I don't know if this one resumes trend, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on this one. You guys are funny in the chat. I love y'all, man. You guys are making me laugh. So that's what I'm looking at there, guys. We're continuing to watch these ones, but there's really not as much continuation during the midday today. So we're going to have to size down substantially so we don't give back the trade that we had on ONCO. It really does come down to that, right? It's impossible for me to make these things move. And if they're not going to move, well, we're not going to trade them with any size, right? Always know.
Notes.
Eh?
So we ain't trading those.
We ain't trading those right here anyway.
Yeah.
But that's it. If there's any other ones that you want me to look at, OMEX, I'm seeing they're being called in the chat. OMEX is down about 14% on the day. It looks like a great short right at the volume weighted average price. Let me bring in my side chart here. We'll do a little OMEX analysis. Flip to the 5-minute. This is OMEX on the black chart. So you can see it's a big downtrend. And now it's found itself at the volume weighted average price. If history is any guide, and that's what TA is, it'll fail VWAP. And then it'll kind of make its way back down into 102. But it is at the volume weighted average price. So it could possibly make it back up, I want to say, into the shelf over here, 112, 113, maybe 114. So keep your eye out on that. What else are you guys looking at there? Vinny Vici, brother, I take a look at Amazon for you, but there are better people than me to look at that. Because, you know, I just trade these small cap gappers. CLIK says Cool Brioche. All right, good move here into volume weighted average price, but it's rejecting it, brother. So I'd have to see a little bit more. I'd have to see definitely a little bit more. And what is this level here? That's 7:05 a.m. and that gets into about 339, 340. So this one's got higher lows, which isn't bad, but it also has two things not going for it. It's below the volume weighted average price. It's below the pre-market high, but it's up 25%. Trade this carefully. I pick it up off this range, just where we are now. And if it fails, you know, prior bar low would be a tight stop. Get out. If it fails prior area low over here into about 233, if you can stomach that kind of risk, interesting there for Cool Brioche. ASPC, says Bovin. Let's take a look at ASPC. Shout out to my man Bovin. A little light on vol, Bovin, but that is your specialty. 121,000 shares, but it's up a decent amount, 34% on the day with a $15 high. The spread on this one, I can see, I'm trying to find if I can see the spread. It's not on my scanner. ASPC, let's see if I can find it on my scanner and it'll show me the spread. Now, I can't see this one, Bovin. How come it's not on my scanner? It's up 35%. Oh? Just looking for it. Yeah, maybe because of the volume. Yeah, 121,000. That's why it's not showing up. Yeah, so I won't be able to see the spread unless I load up the trading screen. But it's not a bad looker, Bovin. Just not for me because it's a little bit light. Zyhan, BBGI, thoughts spiking up. Interesting here. Interesting. There's a lot of selling in the low sixes. Why does it do that?
Wow.
Again, you know, these ones are just not for me. They're super consolidative. They're within a range. It looks like it's holding 5. It has a lot of selling, 6.25. We saw that in the late parts of the day yesterday. I see what you're saying, Zion. It's got a good trend under it. It's just not the ones that I'm looking for. But yeah, trade this one carefully. Maybe something off the 10 EMA, Joey.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude, I'm looking at Palantir down 36% off of its highs. I mean, you got to talk about a stock that's been on a generational run, essentially, and then now you're pulling back 36% while the market is ripping and you're going oppo? Man, oh man, that's a tough look there in Palantir. Could it be a good buying opportunity? But I think we have to take into consideration the fact that we are heading towards some key support levels, right? Like we have this structure, and if this breaks, maybe you get a little bit of a dip into the 120s or something along those lines. First things first, like these are massively bearish candles. Like these are big time engulfing prints to the downside. So that is displaying some extreme weakness. Maybe there's no short here in IBIT. We don't want to play the retracement play. Yeah, exactly, Chris. It can go lower, and it's looking like it might, considering, look what the market's doing. You're at the high of the day, and Palantir is at the low of the day. Like, man, and consecutive really, really aggressive selling sessions from a high of 155 to 131. And we are talking about some supply zones over at 141. See you later, AC Slater to that one. Straight to the downside. With that being said, let's pull up the options chain to see where we might find some next levels of support in Palantir, because things are getting extremely ugly in this name. We're going to have to go out a little bit here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what we got here on the April 17th expiration cycle. 125, 130. Okay, so we're about that neck of the woods right now. $1.50, yeah, we're a big time. $1.30 essentially, right? So $1.50 from that 130 strike price. Man, oh man, let's see if we can find a bounce around that area. If not, things are going to get even worse and you head into that 125. And we're going out 8 days, April 17th expiration cycle. So it's been a tough one. Now, as for the overall market, considering we're on the chain, let's see what we got in the NASDAQ for potential levels. So let's pull up the Qs. We'll head over to tomorrow's expiration. It's already Friday. I can't believe it. Time flies when you're having fun, Sharif. You would know about that. 610 essentially. It could be a level here today. We're at 608.58. A couple more pullbacks and steady grind higher. This market's ready to rip. Any positive news on the fact that, like, hey, we're getting to a conclusion or the ceasefire is held up, then by all means, watch out for the market. It's Thursday, that's what I'm saying. It's Friday, time flies, right? We're almost at Friday, time flies. Time flies when you're having fun. So we're only 1 day away before the weekend starts. I know you're going to be taking a couple rest days in here.
Well, I got back Tuesday.
Oh, did you? Okay. So you got this day
off.
How was your flight back? What was your flight back like?
It was really good. It was delayed by about 45 minutes, which isn't bad. Yeah. But WestJet isn't it? Okay.
You like it because you had internet there. Up there.
Yeah, I did, bro. And I upgraded to the bigger seats at the front. You know how much that cost me?
How much?
$75.
Oh, you do that all day? Yeah, I do that all day, man.
All day.
Yeah, man. Yeah, all day.
It's one big seat.
Yeah.
And then there's another beside you, so it's two and two.
What Sharif is saying, he was in business class.
That's not even considered business class, my guy. It's not business class at all. It was $75 upgrade.
That's good. They gave you when you got there, they asked you about it, or did you do it before check-in?
No, I did it when you check in. Yeah. On the check-in. It was $75.
Can I tell you a story? I flew, so my
Hold on, just before you tell me, guys, ANTA, A-N-T-A, KC526 is in this. It's breaking out. It's up 34%. It has barely any volume. It's 42,000, going on 43,000 shares. Trade this carefully. It's obviously a dangerous one, but according to her, dangerous isn't her middle name. So shut it. But let me hear this.
No, I was gonna say, like when I go to Jamaica to my dad's house, we get to fly first class.
First.
Yeah. We got first class.
That's crazy.
We get first.
I've only done that a couple of times, but like you can't fly first everywhere. You just get
a low fee, my boy.
Low fee. Okay, so I do it with Air Canada with the upgrade. So you know how you can bid on it?
Yeah.
You can bid.
Yeah.
So it's like if they don't sell the first tickets, they leave them out there, and then you throw in a bid, and then you may get it, you may not. That's the only way I've gotten it before, but
never mind Air Canada.
Yeah, well, Air Canada, we'll see how long they're around for.
Do you think that can ever happen?
Neil? Neil, did you look at the short interest on Air Canada, brother? It's like 27%.
Anyway.
At least it was last time I looked at it. But
We're starting to grind lower here, Sharif, and IBIT. Let's wait to see if we get one more pop up here. Volume is slowly starting to cool off, but right from this print right here, you're down about 11 cents or so, and that's pretty good risk to reward if you ask me. If we can get as close to this high as possible, risk 510, and then maybe get to a low of 75. That's 25 smackers right there. We don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, and we want to wait for a precise entry. The longer we consolidate up here, as the market is continuing to climb, the more I like us for a move back into the mean, and that could be around 40.50 on IBIT.
There's a lot of selling on ARAI. We've popped up into 14, and that seems to be the level we're rejecting at multiple times. In fact, looking at the 1 minute chart here, there's really no closing prints above 114 since about 11 o'clock. So the better part of an hour now of selling at that level. I see ONCO 0686. I do see it, but I don't like it quite yet. And the reason is because of this unbroken downtrend here. So we'll have to wait and see if this can get back above 250. We know there was selling on ONCO at 250 last time around, and we couldn't shake it, and then we ended up losing trend. So we're going to keep a close eye on ONCO, but we'll see about that. I also want to mention CHOW, CHOW. This is decent. I mean, it got a breakout at around 11.10. Again, kind of good with volume earlier, and then the volume has kind of dropped off a cliff. It seems to be compressing with higher lows but lower highs at around 50 pennies. So make of this what you will. I haven't seen enough yet to kind of form an opinion one way or another. It's up 36%. It's above 50 pennies but below VWAP, and it had good volume. Like, just to give you an example, this 1150 candle had 1.6 million shares on a 50 penny name, which isn't horrible. It's not great. But CHOW is making a move. ANTA is making a move. And I just got bored of holding DKI. If this one starts curling back up and showing me what it showed me over here, we'll get involved with that. But I don't want to take my mental attention here while I'm trying to get into some others. So we got out of that. Break even. 12 o'clock. In fact, it's a little bit over. So we're going to send you to Happening Now with Adara and Neil's lesson of the day.
The S&P 500 has officially broken past yesterday's pre-market highs. Tons of oil headlines to talk about. We even got some of them pre-market, where we know Kevin Hassett, White House economic advisor, and one time the top contender for the Fed chair position, he was speaking this morning, and he said that ships have been, quote, trickling through the Strait of Hormuz, a claim that has been not necessarily backed up by other reports we've heard since then. But either way, the point I'm trying to make here is right from the beginning, we knew oil was going to be in focus once again, and as such, USO, we're talking about, this is now at intraday lows. We've had a couple of different headlines in the oil space. We had the main one, though, that really led to this massive push lower in oil is Axios reporting that we did have Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel saying that he has directed his cabinet to start talks with Lebanon. Lebanon, we know, has been a point of contention because it actually was not included in the official U.S., Iran, and Israel ceasefire. Now, it's interesting because this announcement came about 15 or 20 minutes after we heard reports that President Trump yesterday instructed Netanyahu to reduce these strikes in Lebanon to hopefully open up negotiations between the U.S. and Iran to a greater degree. So now it looks like both the U.S. and Iran and Lebanon and Israel are going to be hopefully having some kind of negotiations that'll move things into a good place. We have to talk about Amazon as well. As USO moves lower, AMZN just keeps moving higher. A couple different headlines for Amazon. Pre-market, we had a catalyst involving a shareholder letter from CEO Andy Jassy that was very glowing about the company's AI and specifically their Tranium and Gravitron businesses. Then later in the day, around when we got, I believe, this push up higher here is when we have AMZN announcing a $25 billion investment in Mississippi data centers, and they're going to be backing 100% of the cost. So good look. It makes it a little bit harder for this to be overturned or canceled later. Earnings also in focus. We had APLD and STZ reporting after the bell yesterday. This morning, BlackBerry got a nice little pop, at least initially, on its earnings report. As you can see here, sequential growth in revenue, operating income, and gross margin throughout BlackBerry's fiscal 2026. But enough about BlackBerry. Enough about oil, at least for now. We have a lesson of the day from Neil. So Neil, without further ado, what lesson is coming from you?
Buy BlackBerry, everybody. Because why wouldn't everyone want to invest in, what do they even do anymore? Y'all tell me what they do. It doesn't know. I know they did. They probably have a bunch of patents. They do some security stuff. No, that's not the lesson of the day. The lesson of the day is going to be precision, and sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And yesterday, it was all about one thing. And I even came in today and said sort of the same sort of notion. USO, when it finally decides to break a trend and do something different from what it was before, is the catalyst mover for the day. So here, yesterday, that was a turning point. You could find some reversion trades to the short side in the market there when it broke higher. And then you had a similar thing to the downside. Now, obviously, here's the trend. Boom, low, boom, higher, low. There was this fake out that happened at about 10:55. This is the thing about a trend break. It's not always clean. So it faked you out and then really confirmed the trend break over here at about 11:12. Now, obviously, if you got faked in early and then it ran the high and then went, which I can tell you that's what I was waiting for, and I told you what the vehicle I was looking at, sometimes it's going to suck like that because I had silver. I was in it early because silver broke the trend at about the time we wanted, but I was in that early trade. Wicks me out, and this is where precision matters. I'll get there in a second because you're going to say, why are you out of this trade, Neil? It didn't break this low. You're right, it didn't. And sometimes you get a stop run because there's a dark pool print, like 1 cent beneath, and there's not much you can do about it. What you can do about that is set it just a little bit wider so you can't get wicked out. But ultimately, it was being early to the trade, and then when it confirmed for good, you want to have that breakout. We talked about the precision of waiting for that moment, and then it would be your biggest trade of the day. Well, it would have been on SLV. That being said, it's better to be lucky than it is to be good. Because I had gone up to go to the bathroom, and I was asked this morning, why don't you just trade USO in general? And I told the reason why. I'm going to go to a longer time frame chart. Everybody's going to have their own style. But when I see trend up in almost all of energy, and for the last few sessions, going all the way back to, it'll be the end of last month, right? So we'll call it like the 30th, and then every day after that. Boyle has been the easiest short because you've been able to just sit in it every single time there's like a trend break on USO or there's any kind of a ceiling in USO. You can just sit off the top in this and been good to go. It had 4 days in a row of the same resistance. So any pop on energy, you were just shorting whatever you could early or at that 16 area, or you were shorting lower highs also worked as well, shorting lower highs in here. In this case, it's trending up, so you'll wait for the top. Then yesterday, it broke the bottom, goes right into a support level, it's like short that pop. And then what did I say today? Any move up on USO, and I'm gonna use that as an opportunity to just sit in this stupid thing. And when it broke the low, okay, fine, fair enough. I don't know how far it's gonna go down. I didn't know that was gonna be the trend break. But when it broke the low, you get the dream. I'm always willing to go for the lowest hanging fruit out there. Now, the lowest hanging fruit may not have been sitting in Boyle. It was, in my opinion, the trend break on USO and then a hunt for the long breakout. But the thing about that is if it's that big an opportunity, if it fakes you out here, we always say, the term we like to use is if you're wicked out of a trade and it's an A+, that's probably a reason to get back in. This little fake out right there, wicking people, wicking anybody at the high of the day out, and then you get that little bit of a curl. The news comes after the trend break because, let's be real for a second, yeah, the news comes after the trend break. Why wouldn't it? Because someone has it in early. That's just how it works sometimes. That's a good re-entry. If you like trend reversion trades, which I do, that's my bread and butter, I got to be back into this one. I have to. At 11 o'clock, we get up after the morning show and go grab lunch and go to the bathroom. It's sort of normal. So it's not a good excuse, but sometimes you are going to be away from your desk when an A+ trade sets up. But if something was A+ the day before, you have to find a way to take advantage of it. Now, I got lucky with Boyle that I happened to be in it when this happened, but finding any reversion long that you could have had a minute or two later on a bunch of things. You didn't need to be in when this was breaking on SLV. You could have taken it when this was already confirming way down here. Or you could have taken the cues. Whatever you had, whatever was going to be your flavor. But it showed you the same thing in the reverse direction yesterday. You just needed to have something as a piece of that pie. And congratulations to anybody that did. USO continues to head lower and lower and lower as the market seems to want 1%. And I'm gonna put this to the boys here. I tell you what the lunch was, but I haven't even opened it up yet. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna put this to the boys. We gotta have some kind of a poll because we forgot to do one in the morning. So think of something creative. It should. I mean, you could do the overall market. You could do what oil's gonna do, oil futures are gonna do, or maybe like Tesla or Palantir. But we forgot to do a poll this morning. You guys got to get one in there right now. Peace.
A poll.
Sure, we'll do a poll. You got any ideas?
Cancun or Dominican?
Cancun or Dominican, he says. No, I don't know about that.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
No, but I was just telling Joey, guys, next stop, Colombia in August. So, Assassino, am I right to say that there is kind of what they call a mini summer in South America between July and August? Because it's technically the other way around because of the Southern Hemisphere, right? You don't call it like that? Okay.
Heat, baby.
Waves of warm. What I'm trying to avoid is the rainy season. That's why. So I was looking online to see if I could go to Colombia in the summer. And it's like, if you want to go in the summer, you got to go July or August. Otherwise, it's raining cats and dogs. Yeah. He doesn't know the weather in Colombia. Brazil is different than the north. Okay. Let's hear what some of the people in the chat have to say.
Crazy how they say Brazil is the north. Like, it's like, bro, that's hella south.
Well, yeah, Brazil's monstrous.
Brazil, Colombia
ARAI
is north, when we're thinking. But anyways, yeah.
It is, yeah. Well, Colombia is around the north of South America, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, ARAI is losing the bid here. If it loses 105, I'm out. We've taken out some nice moves, but there's a bunch of lower highs, and here's 105. Let's just stop out right here. We'll get out. So ARAI losing the bid, but ONCO is making a move here. Watch out for the selling, though, at the $0.50 here on ONCO, okay? This is a bamboozler. It's made its way back into the $0.50 earlier. I want to say at around 1138 or so. And here it is again, breaking trend. It's above the 10 EMA. It's trying to move back into that 2.5. So I'm keeping a close eye on this one. Now, if we get an aggressive breakout on ONCO, I would say be careful with the, a quick wick through 250 and then a loss back down, because then that would be the setup for the lower high and then eventually a flat bottom breakthrough, say 225, because that's where the support is generally, about 230 to 2.25. So keep your eye on ONCO. I'm definitely interested in getting into this one. Senior Lebanese official, Lebanon advocating for temporary ceasefire to allow for talks with Israel. Well, I think definitely they want a ceasefire. I mean, I don't think that they want to get bombed into an oblivion, right? So we'll have to see how that all goes with that. But ONCO's making a move here, guys, into 45. Watch out for the 50 breach. For now, we're going to Adara.
Keep an eye here on Zoom, ZM on watch. Zoom, in case you didn't know it, invested in Anthropic. Going back to early 2023, it was a $51 million investment that's now worth between $2 billion and $4 billion as of a couple months ago. Now, I bring them up now because, as you can see, we got a big push up over the last couple of minutes. That's because Anthropic announced that Zoom is launching a connector that will bring meeting intelligence directly into the co-work experience. So Claude and Anthropic tie up here for ZM, again, a company that's already been invested in Anthropic going back 3 years now. Back to you.
$1 million, you said, is now worth
$51 million.
$51 million is now
From
worth
51 million to like 2 to 4 billion. Like when this came out, how much their investment was worth a couple months ago, Zoom went up like double digits.
That's crazy. Aside from that, guys, here's Intel right at the volume weighted average price. We had this head and shoulders pattern starting to be formed, and then we break through that neckline 60.25, and then now we're starting to print a little indecision right here at that specific indicator. So we'll keep our eyes on this for a continuation. We do have that downtrend that's still fully intact, and we have to take that into consideration as well. So keep our eyes on Intel for a potential move higher. And then here's Bitcoin, runs right into that 40.90 level and then bounces right off it. So if you're trying to sell the break of the support, not going to work, especially when the market is this strong and continuing to grind higher. 72.37 there on Robinhood. And we're moving across the board. The only ones that aren't really participating in this rally, even though we're back to the volume-weighted average price, you're down substantially in Palantir, and we've been talking about this name, and Microsoft also selling as well too, guys, so not nearly as strong. A lot of the bigger names past the previous pivot high and establishing highs of days, breaking through opening auction highs and then continuing its climb. Apple doing the exact same thing, not quite, but relatively close. Google, I don't really have to question this one. Off to the races it goes with an essentially a beautiful print off it, V-shaped reversal, and it doesn't even look back. A half an hour of straight buying and continuing to climb. Shreve, we were down almost 10% in the SPY. Now we're only down 2.5%, like in the span of a couple of days. So it's just like, boom, okay, yeah, you thought everything was going to be horrible, but guess what? SPY 2%, the NASDAQ not down much at all either. So, I mean, the recovery is full on. Multiple weeks of selling just evaporated in the span of a couple of days. So I think this war is weighing on the market. And if things really start to cool down, I wouldn't be surprised in the near term, once it is come to an end, that the NASDAQ and the SPY climb to new highs. Yeah, no, I definitely don't disagree with any of that. Yeah, it was interesting when I flew back Tuesday and see kind of like what the market was doing. Then yesterday, the huge recovery, of course, with President Trump's announcement about well, we'll see how long the ceasefire holds here. But yeah, it is quite interesting. When I was doing the SPY, look at ONCO just fool everybody. And that's why I didn't want to get in. Luis, if you're still in the chat, these are turning out to be some of the most interesting style trades. Now, I had a bias that these ones that were strong and that had prolonged downtrends, once that downtrend was breached, and you kind of started moving your way back up, stair-stepping up, that they were A-plus setups. Now what I'm starting to see is that these breaches of the downtrend are setting up as lower high failures. And so this is kind of what I mean. You don't get this this trend line breach at all. And then you get this consolidative look. And then a move back up, you clearly move above the trend line. And then you make your way above the $0.50 too. For people who are even biased about saying, you know, there's going to be sellers at the $0.50. That's going to be a resistance level. And it just lures everybody into the high 50s, drops all the way back down into the 30s. It breaches prior bar low. If it loses 225, this is definitely going to VWAP, possibly $2. I'm keeping a close eye here on ONCO. Let's not write its obituary just yet. It could get some selling, some localized selling at the $0.50. If that is the case, then we'll get right back into it. But for me, what I've seen with these ones lately is that they've been failing much more than they've actually been continuing. And this is a chart pattern we did quite well on, I think, in early mid-March, and that really hasn't been the case at all lately. For now, we're going to send it to Adira.
Comments coming from a couple different leaders here in the Middle East on a potential ceasefire and further talks, I guess, to keep this ceasefire in place as negotiations continue. The spokesperson for Iran's foreign ministry saying that conducting talks to end the war is contingent on the U.S. adhering to its ceasefire commitments on all fronts, including Lebanon. As I mentioned a couple times now, there's a huge disagreement as to whether Lebanon was actually part of the original ceasefire. But regardless, Iran's foreign ministry is saying, hey, we're not going to be continuing to negotiate unless these strikes against Lebanon stop. Now, furthermore, we know there's going to be talks between Israel and Lebanon. We've also heard here from the Israeli officials saying that direct negotiations between Israel and Lebanon are going to kick off next week. First meeting will take place in the State Department at Washington. Furthermore, Jerusalem Post reporting that Israeli forces are going to remain in the area and Israel will be acting against anything they deem as a threat to their military. So tension's still very high, even as there's cautious approaches to negotiations from all sides. Back to you.
And that's the problem with Lebanon because it's so factionalized. You got the Sunnis, you got the Shias, which are essentially Hezbollah, and then you got the Christians, the Catholics, essentially, the Maronites. And so it's like you got three distinct groups, the same problem you have in Iraq. Yeah. You got the Shias, you got the Muslims, and you got four groups. You got Christians in Iraq, and then you have the Kurds.
Yeah, the Kurds, I was going to say.
The Kurds, right? Yeah. So that's the problem. So you're negotiating with Hezbollah, but Hezbollah, you know, it's not formal government. The formal government is it's composed of, this is how they structure it. I think, fact check me, chat. The president has to be Christian, the prime minister's got to be Sunni Muslim, and then the speaker of the house has to be Shia Muslim, something like that. It's maybe not those specific.
Too much going on over there.
Yeah, so that's the problem. You're negotiating with one, and then the other is like, well, I'm not honoring what you say. So it's just a tough situation.
Very.
And Lebanon, it's been like that for years.
I want to talk about Intel here real quick. I mean, there it is, right? Like you bounce off the volume-weighted average price. You've now breached this downtrend. Are we going to come back and retest it? This was the print to go. Like that's our green light. I was looking at the 5-minute and I missed this. If I seen it, the location is extremely important. I say that all the time, location, 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 essentially for quality names. And I mean, look at the run that Intel has been on over the past couple of sessions. You want to find any forms of strength, you go across the board. It's doing the same thing on multiple occasions. So there it is, bounce off of VWAP. I don't even have to look. If I scroll back and there it is, VWAP, bang, it displays itself and then off to the races you go. And it's the exact same narrative here once again today. You just want to put yourself in the right place at the right time, or try to at least. And I think what going with the trend in this specific name around the volume weighted average price is essentially doing that. So not too bad of a look. Buying these lows on 40.90 maybe on Bitcoin, if it decides to put in another leg higher, as it looks like it wants to right now, you're up 1.5% here today as the market is almost at the highs. So things are looking pretty optimistic. Is Palantir going to catch up? Well, what has Tesla been doing? We know that this name, oh wow, what a move. Tesla playing catch up here, Sharif, in Tesla. Wasn't really following what the rest of the market was doing, but then decided to break through some key pivot levels in the post-market and in the pre-market, and then off to the races you go. But we're still down substantially. Could we still classify this as a discount? And if you look at the bigger picture, essentially this down channel is still fully intact. All right, so until we get on the back side of things, I don't know. I talked about my opinion on Tesla the other day, and I'm going to stick with that until we can start seeing Optimus and the RoboCab on the bottom line. We don't really have much going for it. You have energy storage, and you have a couple of models, essentially, that Tesla's riding its back on. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Elon has to say. He's obviously going to be optimistic with the Optimus release and the robo-taxi and everything along those lines. So there's a lot to look forward to, but right now we don't currently have anything that we can classify and take into considerations via earnings other than they're losing market share, essentially, across the board.
That's a fact, right? that is a fact. They are losing market share. But if I asked you this question, I think, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, and we looked at Tesla's market share, I think it was like in the 80s or I don't know, so whatever, fact check me. And I said to you, do they continue with that kind of market share into 26, into 27? I think most people would have said no.
No, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But I don't think a lot of people would have said that they would have had declining year-over-year sales. Perhaps, you know, they don't have the same share of the market because the EV market grows.
Yeah.
But I think it's one thing to say declining share or declining, you know, share of the pie of EVs, and then the declining year-over-year deliveries are not the same.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so that does concern me for the car business. But as I was mentioning in the morning, if you watched Elon's keynote on the Terafab presentation, I would suggest you do. If you're a Tesla investor, you should be listening basically to everything Elon says. He mentioned electric vehicles very, very seldomly. I get that it was about chips and, you know, the fact that they need more than the world already produces combined, that whole thing. But he was really focused more on robotics and autonomy than he really did speak at all about cars. And then come in
like
this morning. And
like we said, like think about it, like what models does he really have right now? The 3 and the Y is essentially that.
You saw the headline this morning?
Yeah, he's making a smaller version of that.
Yeah.
So the X and S are done with production, right? So it's just like you're running a couple of models with different variations, essentially. So it's like, hey, you're a 2-car company that's looking that you want to look forward to, right?
Cybertruck. Don't forget about the
yeah, but the Cybertruck doesn't really move the bottom line, and they have a mass amount of inventory as well on it.
They do. You're wrong at that at all. Guys, I'm continuing to watch ONCO over here. Even though it did bamboozle through the $0.50, it's still generally putting in higher lows. So here it comes again. And it breached already prior bar high, which was red on a wick basis. It's not above it currently. But I don't think the book is closed here on ONCO. And if that's the case, then I'm going to keep my eye on this one because I want to see exactly what it has to offer. And right now, I'm not going to get in, but if this one can kind of breach and hold above the $0.50, I'd like to see a closing print above the $0.50. Then I think this one's setting up again. Just before we go to Adara, I want to mention ELAB. I'm a little late to the party on this one. I do apologize, guys. I said very little about it because it did basically this sideways movement during the majority of the show, and then it gets a monster breakout at 12:10 into about, what was that, 677. It's back below 650 now. Something to keep an eye out on. It's up 43% and a good amount of volume. We're going up to the big desk.
Yeah, we have more headlines here, unfortunately, in the Middle East. Keep an eye on USO. I mean, right now, near a low of days, basically, maybe trying to bounce a little bit, as we do hear that According to Fox News, sirens have sounded across northern Israel. Hezbollah launched rockets over the border. Apparently that started a little bit after Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel's announcement that he'd be opening peace talks or negotiations here with Lebanon. So I guess shortly after this announcement, which came 45 minutes ago, we started hearing rockets and sirens in Israel. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Continuing to watch ONCO. I want to mention as well, for those who are interested, Chow is making a move. CHOW. It didn't hold 50 pennies in the technical sense, but it seems to have a lot of buying in and around the $0.50. So there's a lot of bottoming tail candles, breaching the half, very few, in the way of closing prints south of that $0.50. It's not putting in any general area higher highs. I think, a very clear higher high would be above 56.5 pennies, but it's holding generally this $0.50 area. If you want an area stop, it wicks below stop, so you're going to have to take a bit of a risk with this one. But the 1210 candle, the low of which there is 48.79. So that could be your area stop on CHOW. ELAB as well, trying to work its way back above the $0.50. It's holding above the 10 EMA. I see some good possible support here. I want to say at 6.25 on ELAB, there was a lot of selling there every time it got into it. That is below the 10 EMA, which is about 630, 631. Another thing to look out for there. And then, dang it, ARAI did bamboozle me because it did breach that area low. But here it is again at 115 now, 2 pennies below the high of the day. This one is very range bound though. So if it does breach 117, guys, I'd be looking for an aggressive retracement. So get those orders ready. There's 116. Let's go now to the actual trading screen on ARAI. There's 16. Let's see what kind of selling we get. There's 17. So there's the touch of the high of the day. I'm guessing 18, 19, 20, maybe even 21. And then we drop right back down again, just like we've done before. Selling at 18. Big shares here on basically all gateways at 118. But it looks like it's getting decimated, Joey, as this one is working its way into 19, possibly even the fifth of a dollar. ARAI has reawoken. There it is, 19 again. And there's a good move here. Guys, I wouldn't be punching in. It's just, that's my opinion, okay? You can do as you'd like, but just based on ARAI's history intraday, it has a way of selling off after making an intraday high. So you need to be alive to that. So let's keep an eye out on that one. I'll keep my eye on ELAB, ONCO, and CHOW. What are you looking at, Joey?
All right, man. I'm looking at, we're about to pull up Intel here momentarily. So we're establishing this consolidation here on Bitcoin. We want to see a breach through this because every time we run into the support level, we essentially bounce off of it. And we don't want to have that unless we have a good risk to reward, right? So I have to wait for a precise entry. And we talk about this all the time. So if I were to get in right around the low, if momentum and volume were to pick up, I think that's a little bit different of a story. But essentially the way that we have to kind of dissect this is that the fact is if we sell right here at say 40.90s, we're not wrong till we're about 41.06s. Okay, so that's 16 cents that we have to get it. But if we fail to establish a new high around 41, then I can cut my risk in half and then add a little bit more shares as well too. So not too bad of a game plan. You just have to wait for the price to come to you and not necessarily chase it. We talk about this quite often, and if it decides that it wants to go, then by all means allow it to do so. But other than that, it's risky going against the grain, and when you are, you have to find precise entries, all right? Let's see what a really good day says, Gorb. I'm glad you're having a good one there, brother. Luis Valencia, I got decimated on Palantir, dropped because Mossad hates me. Oh, okay, anyways. I don't know why I read that. I don't know why. Anyways, I don't think you probably doesn't even know you exist, but anyways, aside from that. Anyways, read things before you read them out loud. Yeah, anyways.
That's me with big smile, bro.
Yeah, that's all right. So Palantir, it's been a tough one in Palantir. We're glad that Tesla's finding somewhat of a rebound, but we're not finding the same strength in Palantir. It continuously sells, even though there's somewhat of a rebound right now, it's nothing compared to what we're seeing across the board in the market, and it's making new lows, or it's heading towards the low anyways, right? So this uptrend now broken, and now we've curled over and heading right back. So something going on with the stock that makes it that weak. There goes the 40. Are you laughing at
Neil just saw it, so he's laughing.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Joey,
Go ahead,
can I interrupt? ELAB just dropped off a cliff. Is this halted down? ELAB just tanked. Oh, my days. from 677. It's halted now at 574. ELAB just lost a whole bunch. Quick as you freaking like. Guys, from the top of that candle, we're down about 15% and change. So ELAB has lost, I would say, a very key area of support, which is around, I'm going to say, high fives, but around 6. It's lost VWAP. It's now at like the pre-market levels. Yeah, around 845 levels. So ELAB giving it up in a hurry here. And this one is going to be on, Uncle Sheriff's what? So we're gonna leave that one for a second.
Throw that one to the side, my boy.
Throw that one to the side, Joey.
Yeah, so moving forward, guys, let's take a look at a couple other names. How has AMD been performing? You can do it. There you go. Pull up. It's pretty choppy, right, compared to what we got going on here in NVDA. SanDisk, right back up towards these highs, $834. We'll put this to a daily to see how we're performing. I mean, we were down 30% in the span of a couple of days. Yeah, never mind that. So you break down from that 779 level, you're down 29%. Yeah, but then it's like, okay, cool. All of that is irrelevant as you go from 561 up to 837, an additional 50% from that level. So it's like buy the pullback on some of these names because it seems to be working. And we can go to a couple other ones. We got SanDisk, and what's the other one that I'm looking for, Sharif? It's slipping my mind.
WDC?
MU, exactly. So MU not as... No, we could take a look at that. I don't know the ticker of that. 33% to the low and then getting somewhat of a rebound here. So not bad of a look whatsoever. There goes the slide on IBIT. Let's see what Intel's up to because that was another name that we were looking for continuation in the strength from the previous sessions. And there it goes. We'll head over to the 5-minute. Hovering around the backside of this trend. Just be cautious of a potential move back in towards VWAP.
Guys, ARAI still hanging out at highs. I had a bias that this would immediately retrace, but upon like further inspection, you can kind of see that it's done this before. So it'll get into a level like just what it did here between 10:35 and 11 o'clock. There was clearly a seller at 117 that the buyers couldn't shake, and then it dropped back down. So it could theoretically, well, more than theoretically, practically hang out at this 120, 122 area and then drop right back down. I'm not going to take the trade here on ARAI just because I've seen too much in this way. Like, look, it did it in the pre-market as well, where it hung out for 4 or 5 minute bars, so about 20 minutes more maybe, and then dropped back down into an area low. Did it again, as I mentioned, 10:35 to 11, then dropped back down, barely holding on to the dollar. So I don't know what to think right now about ARAI. My Spidey says stay away from it. Also, just getting in here, ONCO, looking for a possible move back into the half dollar. We're getting some higher lows, but there's all sorts of chicanery around here, man, because there's like a bunch of higher lows, but you're also seeing this rounded top starting to form vis-a-vis lower highs. So I don't know how to feel about this one either. Very choppy are these small cap gappers, really no direction for the exception of ARAI, but as I've mentioned, that's not for me at the moment. What else do we have? We have Chow as well. Chow is hanging out at around 51 pennies, but nothing really to do there. Yeah, that's really it, guys. ZNTL, somebody mentioned this one earlier, and I've got it up on my top screen, so let's mention ZNTL over here. The reason I didn't really want to talk about it all that much is because a little bit low on vol. It's about 2.5 million shares on a 3 and change name. You can just take a look at the chart and you know that it's been lightly traded on the day. At least on these charts, you can just easily see it. ZNTL, let's throw that on. Really a lot of respect here for the 10 EMA on the 5. So can't really say too much bad about this other than, it's been a little bit light vol. I'd pick it up something at around 355, 350 if it does maybe a bit of a deeper retracement south of that. But as I see it, I'm seeing ARAI break out, and there is the 123 level. So this one's on its horse, man. It could be into 125 sooner rather than later. I just got stopped out. Good stop out there on ONCO as that one flat bottom broke. This one is headed down to 210. So we'll give back a little bit on ONCO there, but I did take a bit of a smaller position, but we'll still give back, full disclosure. So let's keep an eye out on this one. possibly 210 break, but I think the lower high was the operative thing. That failed break of 250, it started putting in some higher lows. So it's like, all right, maybe the buyers are accumulating, but that certainly was not the case. So it looks like it's the ARAI show right now into 124. It looks like moments now before we get into 125. It's up 85, almost 86%, and there it goes into 125. We've got news with Adara.
MSOS is popping higher here. Keep an eye on this one as Marijuana Moment reports that a DOJ spokesperson had said as of this morning that the department is working to implement President Trump's executive order on rescheduling and that they will continue this work. So again, just an update here, I guess, saying that they will continue to work on rescheduling cannabis. Not really anything massively new, but MSOS, the stock, seems to be really liking this catalyst, guys. Other cannabis tickers you could look at include ACB, CGC, Roar Cannabis, CGC, Tilray is another one to look at, TLRY. So keep an eye on some of these cannabis plays. Tilray and MSOS seem to be the ones moving the most. Again, on an update, just saying the DOJ is apparently continuing to work to implement this marijuana executive order.
Do you have any sort of faith left in the cannabis industry?
No, I mean, from a stock performance standpoint, maybe a couple of the American ones.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that wave is come and gone with the Canadian names, right? I think like the next one, I highly doubt that you get full legalization across the board in the States. But if that were ever to happen, I think there's going to be a potential trade there as well.
Yeah, but like you have so many of the bigger states now that have legalized it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You got California, New York, obviously.
Nevada.
But is that bigger, like population-wise?
Well, I don't know if it's, but see, like,
what I mean?
you would need, like, is it Florida? Is Florida legal too?
I forget.
Yeah.
I remember Florida didn't put it on the ballot, right? Yeah. I don't forget. I doubt it, man. It's super
like Texas would probably never legalize.
Yeah, that's what I would say. That's the next big one, right? Because that's such a big boy state. But you've seen a lot of states take a kind of a different approach. To, yeah. Well, I don't know how I feel about the whole thing, but.
Would you think you would make more money in Sharif is imprisoning the individuals who are carrying marijuana or selling the marijuana yourself?
Do they still get imprisoned for small possession?
Yeah, I don't know, probably in Texas or whatever it may be.
No, I did not advocate for that.
Yeah, obviously you don't. But which one do you think is more profitable? I think at the end of the day,
yeah, it's a good question because I don't think it's that simple. I think the people who are counter, and I am not, just full disclosure, my personal opinion, would cite societal harms that may, be, you have to quantify those somehow, right? But I personally don't have that feeling about that.
State as well.
Washington, there's plenty. Colorado started it. I remember they were the first.
Well. They were the first, yeah.
They were the first, right? And they were before Canada. Weren't they before Canada? Pretty sure.
They might have been.
We had 2018 was legalization here.
Yeah.
But
Lemon's family says Texas has drive-up beer stations.
Drive-up beer stations?
Yeah, that would be cool.
I don't want to look at alcohol for a while.
Oh, yeah, I bet, man.
I don't want to look at alcohol for a long time.
Did you drink any Presidente while you were there?
No, I kept my drinking to one drink and one drink only, rum and dark rum and Coke.
Oh,
that's it. Just kept it to that. I didn't get one headache. Not one headache.
Oh,
really? I didn't mix any of the alcohol.
Okay, that's
I never
good.
mixed.
That's
but
good, yeah.
I don't want to look at alcohol for a while, bro. We're going to let that
you can, but I remember when I was in Dallas, you need to have like that, the doctor's note thing or like permission essentially to carry marijuana in Texas.
Oh, so
and how it was like how we started out here essentially.
Yeah, and like California was for like a lot of years. Okay, so they have the medical exception and that whole thing there.
Yeah.
Guys, ARAI still hanging out near high. So it's a 127 high. It's showing 123. Current bar low is as follows. So the areas are as follows. 120 is current bar low. Prior bar low, 117. It's holding trend. I don't know, man. It's bamboozling me. I was super insistent that I'm not going to get in at highs because it's one of those ones that retraces after the area high, but it is headed back up. So here we go. Let's continue to watch ARAI. You keep a stop here, a close stop at current bar low. That would take us to about 120. Let's give this one the old college try. We'll go with small shares. We'll give it to 119. If it loses that area low, then we'll get out. Simple as that. I have to give it a bit of a buffer, obviously. And then we'll see what happens there. But Definitely looking for another move here, possibly into the high of the day. Let's go ahead and post that 27s. Let's see what we get. Maybe we'll even get a 30 spike if we're lucky. So ARAI looking the best of the bunch. ELAB has just reawoken. ELAB, this one was halted down. Now all of a sudden it's right back into the volume weighted average price. I'm looking for more here. 620. There's been a lot of selling at 620 before we kind of popped up into that 680 failure. So that's something to look at there at ELAB, on ELAB. 620 is approaching. Watch out for resistance here. Let's see what kind of size we get on ELAB if we do approach that 20 penny level. But nice recovery off that area low, about 570, and another move back up. But watch out for the 620 seller. If you can get above that, then maybe we get another move into 6.5, maybe even more. So ELAB should be in focus. We're going right back up to Adara.
Some harsh words coming from Iran's foreign minister, Argachi, saying that, quote, if the U.S. wants to crater the U.S. economy by letting Netanyahu of Israel kill diplomacy, that would ultimately be its choice. He also said that if that happens, Iran is prepared for it. So some thinly veiled threats coming here from Iran, specifically from its foreign minister. Keep an eye here on USO and oil. And again, the reason we bring up these headlines is because they can be volatile and they can lead to some volatility in oil. Again, latest headline here looks like Iran basically saying that U.S. could be hurting its own economy if it progresses a certain way here with these negotiations and with how it's handling the situation in the Middle East.
That Bitcoin breakdown was really nice there, guys, as it's slowly starting to crawl back to VWAP. And this Intel breakdown is really working for us. I hit my target, so I took the majority of it off. We'll leave 10% for a runner right now to see if we can run into 25s. This thing's choppy, and I don't have a good record trading it, so I'm like, you know what? We hit our target. What am I going to hold things for other than the majority, take the profit, and then maybe we can get a little bit move. If this is bonus cash. It comes back to the break even, and it's like, hey, Joe, you only took a couple pennies. That's all I needed. I was literally risking like 5 cents or 1-to-1, bang, AC Slater to that one, and now it's getting a little bit of continuation. Take loss, stop profit. Yeah, exactly, Hangry Wife. Aside from that, this is another misshift. There we go, 27s there on INTC. So the breakdown is in full effect. Market coming back in aggressively as well. I mean, not overly compared to some of the upticks that we've seen, but we'll take this all day, every day, especially in INTC. So we'll remove a little bit more off here. Just for good luck and a new low. Leave the rest for VWAP or break even. It's either one or the other, and we won't touch it otherwise. There you go. Yeah. Did you almost drop something there? Oh, yeah. Be careful there. We don't want you getting compensation there.
Straight to workers'
Straight to workers' comp.
Right back on vacation.
Straight flight right back, going right back. That's crazy. Aside from that, man, we're chilling. We got the Intel short. We had the IBIT short not too long ago. We can take a look at Coin and Circle. Circle was getting absolutely destroyed, I believe, the other day. Not very liquid, as you can see that. Consecutive moves to the downside. And I believe yesterday's session was pretty weak as well, as the market was finding somewhat of a rally. So not too good of a look in Coin and Circle so far. Bull, there's no point in even us talking about Webull because that stock's down to $5. Sorry about that, Webull. But aside from that, SoFi stocks, again, this name is absolutely destroyed, and it doesn't look like it's going to recover anytime soon, Sharif. Down 50%. So a 50% haircut in SoFi, the exact same thing in Robinhood roughly. And then also we had 30% in Palantir and looking like it wants to continue to go. So taking profit is, when you're at highs, man, Raheem and I were talking this morning. He's like, I'm great at buying lows, but I'm horrible at selling when I'm supposed to. And I think, I'm like, man, I think that's a problem that most of us run into because we think we're going to continue to climb higher and higher, and that's not necessarily the case. So when you're up 20, 30%, there's nothing wrong with what Ash Sharif would typically say is do this, wet the beak, take some profits off, leave some runner, and then have some form of a trailing stop so you don't lose all those unrealized gains. Ask me how I know this? Well, easily, I could tell you. A stupid amount in IBIT over the couple of years, bang, vanished in the span of a couple of weeks. So that stuff is not fun to go through, but the only thing that we can really do is learn our lessons, and I think that's how we become better traders.
No question about it, man. No question about that. ZNTL headed to 4. Nice breakout. Still generally lighter on volume, 3 1/3 million shares traded in the high 3s as we approach 4, up 42% on the day. Very respectful of trend, very few in the way of breaches of prior bar low. So this one's headed to 4. You do expect a little possibly resistance at 4. If we get through 4 quite aggressively and this starts showing up on people's scanners as it is now showing up on mine, then I've got a bias that we probably work at least into that $5 area. We'll have to deal with 4 first, but ZNTL making a nice move up here. Very little in the way, as I mentioned, of prior bar low breaches. Yeah, not a whole lot else, guys. Continuing to look for different ones that may be making their way onto the scene. A lot of them are failing, so I'm really not surprised about that. That has been the case lately with these small cap gappers. Just going through my top scanner there to see what is going on. We got another one, IBIT, just barely off the highs. Let's bring in the chart. Yeah, ARAI is being priced non-compliant. Or am I just trading this wrong? I mean, I'm trying to put it to prior bar lows. I should have given it to 17 or 16 because that was the breakout level. And I made a mistake there. Let's look at IVVD. All right, good one here. Again, a little bit lighter on volume, but respectful of trend in and around that $0.75 area. Looks like there's a little resistance at 167. If it drops into that, that could be a money fill between the 10 and the 20 to hold prior area resistance. Let me throw in the ticker, IVVD. Yep, so this one is okay. Into up 26 2/3%, but a bit of a slower mover. It does have a sufficient amount of volume per 5-minute candle, about 95,000 shares on the current candle. Some outlying candles here at about 190,000, so it's not too bad. Keep your eye out on that. You're kidding me. ARAI is right back into highs. Oh my days. Is it gonna take out highs? Let's see if it takes out highs. See what kind of selling here at 27. Just took a bunch of sell orders off at 27. So ARAI looks like it might be making another move back up. This one, yeah, there it is, 28. This one is going. Probably going to see $0.33, maybe even half, if it really continues to go in this way. But it's not trend respectful. There's 29. There's another high of the day. And what I mean by that, it breaches prior bar low, right? Consistently. It'll wick below, and then it'll move along its merry way back up. So this one's been a bit of a tougher one to trade. Had some positive trades on it. Then we had a couple of negative ones. So let's see how this one ends up dealing at the $0.33. Here it is, 130, guys. We are taking out prior area highs. This one has a bit of a different feel to it than we've seen previously, which was basically an upward channel where we make a new high and then reject on the day. So perhaps have to look at this a little bit differently. I have to give it to about maybe 117. I think that's just too low for my liking here. Maybe 120 where the 10 EMA is at right now, but I'd like to get it on a bit of a pullback. It's going to continue to make area highs and, near that 100% on the day. It's likely going to elicit a lot of attention from traders. So I don't know how to feel about this one, Joey. I know you were looking at it earlier as well.
Yeah, I was. I tried a couple of attempts on it, and then we had that one rejected order, and then I was like, okay, that was a lot of fun. I'm missing the whole move, especially with that volume and volatility really stepping in on that. I was like, oh, man. And I tried to do the same thing with game, but it wasn't really participating and cooperating. But here it is. Nice look there, Gaurav. This is the 1 minute. You get into the detail. Like, look at this massive volume spike. So the way that I'm looking at this is potentially a larger participant. There goes Intel, straight down to the downside. So our scalp, we're tripping over dollars here, essentially, to collect pennies on Intel as it's continuing to climb lower, and the momentum really, really picking up. And same with the selling in the market. Bitcoin right back towards the volume-weighted average price. Same with the SPY. So that was a big-time missed opportunity. We put the full risk on there. It pulls back. I'm like, oh, you dog. Didn't re-engage for that back half of the trend, the back leg lower, and then now we're way south of target. If we could have held that full size there, that would have been an absolutely beautiful trade that we could have put on. But Adair, what do you have?
Yeah, as we get a little bit of a pushback up here in oil, I do have one headline that I think is maybe worth mentioning here. IDF saying that a suspected hostile unmanned aerial vehicle, or UAV, has entered northern Israel. So looks like continued tensions, unfortunately. If I get any more details, I'll let you know. But one headline to make you guys aware of here.
I think that has to do a little bit with the downtick right now in the market. You can see SPY moving lower than NASDAQ as well. So these pops are getting faded and some of the dips are getting bought back up. As for Palantir, I really want to keep my eye on this one for a potential trade. If we pull back and hold here with any form of indecision that says, hey, we're ready to hold this trend, then it's time to rock and roll for me in Palantir. And I don't trade it too often, to be honest with you. Head over to our watch list so we can take a look at it from a different time frame. 130. If everything's kind of correlating, like we don't necessarily have it on the 5-minute, but the 1 minute is very telling. And then you also have the stair step up in the volume by time profile. Cools off right at the peak at that hammer candle, and then now off to the races you go. Gorb sitting on about 50, 60 cents right now. So we're going to go over to Adara momentarily. Adara, what do you have?
What I have, Joe, is more updates here with regards to the Lebanon situation. As we get a bit of a push up here in oil, CNN reported, citing an Israeli official, that there will be no ceasefire in Lebanon. This Israeli official reportedly further saying that discussions will take place under bombardment. So literally, I think roughly an hour after we hear there could be a ceasefire, or at least ceasefire discussions between Lebanon and Israel, we now hear that there will be no ceasefire in Lebanon, and these conversations will apparently happen as the back and forth continues, unfortunately. Back to you.
And there's this other message here. Iran's supreme leader announced. Okay, yeah, I think that's older, but
Yeah,
oh
so
my
there it
days.
is. There it
There's
is.
inundated with different headlines here about the Middle East here, Joey.
Yeah, I mean, Sharif, it's not going to stop anytime soon, I don't think. It's going to probably take a lot longer, and I've been saying this from day one. We thought other wars were going to be over relatively quick. You still have the Ukraine war going on. When did that start, 22?
I think February 22, I'm
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So you got 4 years. That's still going on. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
it's not the same, but I mean, you don't have, once you put people on the ground, it makes things a lot more complex. We don't have that, and we just hope that it doesn't escalate to that, because if it does, then you're going to see some drastic moves back towards these market lows. And you'll see the SPY and the triple Qs, the NASDAQ down more than 10%.
Oh, yeah, and that'll be the tough look there. Guys, continuing to watch ARAI as this one, I mean, it's looking the best of the bunch here, quite frankly, other than ZNTL, but ARAI has substantially more volume. But let's put some respect on ZNTL's name. Where is it at? There it is, right through $4. I think the high of the day now is 402. So this one continuing to respect trend. It is getting away, or extended, I should say, away from the 10 EMA on the 5, which is around 3 3/4. So it's, let's just say, right now it's at $4. It hasn't been this far away from the 10 EMA on the day. I mean, at the most over here, it was away by a couple of pennies. This is by about $0.25. So ZNTL catching a lot of eyes over here. And look at these volume bars on the bottom right. Greensville into that 402 area. If it clears 4 and it clears 4 decisively, I have a bias that this probably works into 5, whether or not it gets the volume to support that kind of move. But hey, ZNTL is looking good. And then right back down into the 10 EMA on the 5 is ARAI. Let's give this the old college try over here. I've been trying to pick this up. We're going to pick this up over here. We've got the 10 EMA on the 5 at, I believe, 119. So we give it a little bit below that. It's been somewhat respectful, I want to say, of the 10 EMA on the 5. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see what this one has to offer. I'm going to go ahead and wait at what I perceived to be the initial breakout, which was 117. That was the triple top that we had from at around 10:30 to 11. If it comes back down, holds that level, I'll add more. If it doesn't, then we'll get out of town. But continuing to watch here, ARAI deal with that 10 EMA on the 5, $1.30 high, Joey. This one and ZNTL looking the best of the bunch. And for those who are looking for a short, look no further than ONCO. This is coming down to the volume weighted average price at 210. It's been a symphony of red on ONCO. And if it loses, I want to say between 210 to 2, this one's headed right back down, maybe to 155. That's the official low of the day. But ONCO looking awfully weak here, guys, and could be primed for that kind of low break, 210 to, again, just because VWAP's at 210, but then the whole dollar at 2, so you never really know where support might come in. Keep your eye on that one if you can get locates. From what I see on my platform here, they're not easy to borrow. So there are no shorts available on my platform, but at Real Trading, we 99.999% of the time we will have shorts available. It just will come down to the price typically. So That is kind of what I'm looking at there, Joey, looking for ARAI. Oh, and ONCO just lost it. As we were talking about, it lost 210, and now it's barely holding on to 2. What's the candle low? It is $2 on the dot. So here we go. Let's see if this loses $2 because it's below VWAP here. Now the only thing holding it up is the whole dollar level. So a lot of selling coming in midday here on ONCO. Failure again of that prior high breach. Remember we talked about that candle at 1210? That was the candle that breached through 250, consolidated a bit, and then lured everybody in for the loss of trend, and right back into $2 it goes. There it goes. It's losing 2. Into 198 it goes. So ONCO, a definite short from here. Let's see how low it can go. There could be support at 175 because that was kind of a consolidation level, I want to say, right before we rung the bell to when we took it at about 1025. So yeah, if you can get shorts on ONCO, those are the levels you should be looking at.
Dude, these SaaS names are getting absolutely destroyed here
Again,
today.
huh?
Yeah, I mean, like look at some of the cybersecurity names. I know Zscaler received a downgrade this morning. That thing's absolutely destroyed. It's down like 60% plus off of its highs, 70% even maybe close to that. But then CrowdStrike and then the PanWs of the world are essentially continuously selling. Here's PanW. I don't know why it's doing everything. Yeah, it's not looking good here as it's putting in a new low of the day.
5. Well, did you hear about that new
Claude thing?
Claude OS that can apparently spot all these different weaknesses in existing OSs, and they don't want to release it because they don't want to put it in the hands of people. So, like, for example, it'll spot security vulnerabilities in Windows that humans
and have the ability to exploit them.
Exactly, right? So they don't want you exploiting it, Joey.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to use Claude, man. This thing is a crazy tool, dude.
Well, I may have to.
Yeah, it's a pretty, it's a game changer, especially when it comes to a vibe coding standpoint. Like if you don't, I had no coding background, and then I have the ability to spit out what's in my mind and allow these LLMs to essentially create me something. There goes Intel. Like this is insane.
Got it, Joey.
Like Intel back up towards the top side. We get a little bit of a short scalp, break through VWAP, and then it's like, all right, yeah, that was fun, right? That was fun while it lasted. Let's start going the other way. So I got my eyes on Palantir for a continued bounce. It did break through some of the resistance zone, but now we're starting to form a shelf at 130. So essentially what I want to do here is wait for this uptrend, this, I guess we would call this a tertiary trend here, secondary, whatever you would like to call it, that we're still holding. Even though we have multiple bounces right at that 130, I want to see a liquidity grab south of that and then some indecision prints off of those lows. Why? Because we have volume over here. If you take a look at these specific prints, this can be telling. And consecutive down, very bearish candles at some point stop. And then you find somewhat of a rebound. So maybe a large participant has offloaded his inventory and completed his selling. Held you up big, Joe. Yeah, it did. I know you're long that one, Katina, man. So essentially here, what we got going on is like, hey, maybe we have some stopping volume and we're prepared to find somewhat of a rebound. As the market was selling for 15 minutes and then see you later essentially engulfs that and decides to find somewhat of a rebound. So the strength is there. Was it here in Palantir earlier in the day? Absolutely not. Is it going to completely rebound on the session? Probably not, considering where the market is currently standing at. But if we can get a move back towards the volume-weighted average price, it doesn't even have to get there. Establish a new lower high, and then you can get out of that trade. Look for that next support and resistance zone, and we can base something off of that. Now, as for IBIT, that was a good short, right? Like, we missed out on that one, broke that 40.90. But that's what I was referring to earlier, is that it's difficult to sell the lower end of structure and not have a good risk to reward until it breaks. So on the second or third test, it did eventually snap, now finding somewhat of a rebound. So Claude Code has changed the game. I built so many trading system, amazing tools. Yeah, I mean, dude, just using these tools have traded the game. And I think I was watching some videos over the weekend, and it's just like, man, you got to implement these tools into your trading, or at some point you will get left behind, because that's where it's going. If everything is so efficient, then you have to try to learn them, and including myself. It's like I knew nothing about half of these things. And then it's like, all right, boom. You literally, like, honestly, you could, You could probably train a chimpanzee on some of these things. They're so easy. You type anything, and then it can spit something back. It's like, okay, what's going on? Why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? And you just keep continuously feed it these prompts, and then sure enough, it'll spit back exactly what you need and be able to navigate your computer and your systems for you, essentially. Shout out to Jose in the back. He's the one who actually taught me a lot about this stuff. So aside from that, let's take a look at some of these other names. How is NVDA? We're back up to 183. Yesterday, we were sitting around 185 with that gap up. Sold off a little bit, but now a strong recovery with 184 being that exact level. Let's take a look at our options chain to see exactly what we have at that specific zone and if there's somewhat of a supply at 180, 185, 56,000, 182.5. So you can see this congestion right here, guys. These are completely under the water, and we're substantial. So I would be surprised if we finish south of these by the end of tomorrow. Anything can happen, right? If you get something negative and it decides to gap down, well, congratulations. You just collected a bunch of money to whoever these options writers are, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. Let's head over to this 15th of April expiration to see if there's anything substantial out there in 6 days. That's not even the end of the week. We'll go to the end of the week, the 17th. What I'm looking for essentially is something in the hundreds of thousands. I don't see that. That next level is going to be 190. So there is supply sitting on there by next Friday, 8 days from now. So I don't know. The way that we can look at this is we might struggle a little bit to breach that 190 mark. But if you have larger participants and the institutions step back in and say risk on, that can be absorbed 110%.
Well said, man. All right, in a couple of trades, looking for ZNTL to continue through 4. I had a dip trade into 88s that went unfilled. I think it did actually make it down into 88s, but it didn't cross, so we didn't get the print. So still bias on this one that we have a good amount of support, I want to say, into the mid to low 80s. So we'll see what this one has to offer, but it's currently got a higher low on the 5-minute chart. That's ZNTL. Or ZNTL for the Americans, but ARAI still involved in this one. It's putting in some lower highs, but holding the 10 EMA on the 5. Let's see if we can get a price spike up. Looks like there's a lot of selling at around the $0.25 with the ultimate high of the day of 130. So that's the look there. And then if you're still looking at ONCO, you haven't been with us in a bit, and you started out the show seeing ONCO awfully strong, it has lost a lot of the levels. It's lost VWAP, it's lost $2. And I think really the only thing keeping it up here is this kind of pre-market area, or actually after the pre-market as well. This early morning area supported around 180, 175 to 180. Current bar low is 187 with prior bar low 186. So keep your eye out on that. I do see some support earlier on. I'm talking about this area specifically on the chart, on the 5-minute chart, bottom chart there, guys. Between 180 to 175. The wicks go into 180, the closing prints into 175, so that is something to keep an eye out for there if you're looking at scalping this long off a key level. Otherwise, I'd just be looking to go short into that 175 area if you can find locates, though. That is the most important part of the short on the small caps, finding locates. So ARAI, still holding on to this one, looking for a hold above the 10 EMA. I stop out below 118. The reason I've earmarked 118 is this level right here. We kind of use that as a triple top, 117.5, so I put 118. If it doesn't hold up at that level, I think that's a failure of, structure, not to mention as well, if it fails, the 10 EMA on the 5, which is also an important level. ZNTL, nothing to do here, continuing to hold on to that. But you have any new ones? And I did have IVVD, which is continuing to do well. Let's see who we're going to take off here. VVD, we're going to have to keep an eye on this one. It's not a volume king or anything, but geez Louise, you got to respect a good trend, and this one's got it in spades, baby. Just light vol, sporadic volume. The best kind of candle had about 190,000 shares. You can see the candles more locally. More locally are very, very light on volume. IVVD is the ticker, guys. I'm just trying to throw that in for y'all. But yeah, that's my look there, Joey. I got to say, it's been a light bunch. If I really had to choose, I see ZNTL getting bought up here for a possible break and a break and hold above 4. But you never really know with these ones. I see some higher lows on the candles, but I like it all the way down into about 380. Other than that, you know, IVVD, that's it. Not much else to offer. Chow's breaking down pretty aggressively. ELAB is below the volume weighted average price. Again, we already talked about the short on ONCO. Said very little about FBRX because the volume has all but collapsed on FBRX after making that 35.80 high, and you're going to have to deal with a pretty wide spread on this monster as well. Last time I looked, it was about 50 pennies, 40 pennies, so that is of concern. So keep your eye out there, and I'll keep my eye out on ARAI as it comes right back down into my entry.
All right, man. Good stuff there. I'm looking at the same names. Like, look, wow, something stepping in right in. Look at this volume stepping on Bitcoin. Wow, we got this on. We're doing it live here, Sharif. As it breaks through, and you can see the increase on the lower time frame. Watch the tape. We can scroll down and look at these massive flushes. Big time size, just lifting. Look at, whoa, that's insane. Look at all of this here above the ass. Someone just smacked all of that's huge stuff right here on IBIT. That's absolutely massive size. Guys, as it's continuing, massive, man, massive. Massive, man, massive. Pull it up. All right, aside from that, that was it. There it is. Unfortunately, at 133, was hoping to get back there. Yeah, don't worry, man. Trust me, it's okay. You'll get it back eventually. As long as you stuck to your stop trader forever. That stuff happens all the time. So there's Palantir, but let's keep our eyes on Bitcoin considering we just had a massive volume print come in, and we're only approximately, we got another 40 seconds on this 5-minute candle before it IBIT whale options. I'm not even in this. I was thinking the short, but then the volume stepped in the opposite direction, and then you have 15 consecutive minutes of just nonstop buying, and then a massive print and a lot of size coming in right around 1304 or 104 here, I should say 103. So pretty good look. There goes Palantir bouncing off of those lows. I was thinking about going long here, Trader Forever, as we now snap
breaking news, bro. Israel official. We will ease our operations in Lebanon in the coming days due to U.S. pressure. That is being reported by Israel Channel 13. All right, did we get a spike up in the market for that or no?
In Bitcoin.
In Bitcoin. Just looking here quickly. Oil didn't move, Adira says. I'm not really seeing much of a move on the Qs, quite frankly, right at 609 on the triple Qs. So, yeah, just wanted to mention that for all the oil-sensitive traders. But, yeah, that doesn't look like it's really reacting right now. I don't mean to interrupt you, brother. I apologize.
There we go. Ram drinking Pepsi. No, that's all right, man.
Drinking Pepsi,
Yeah, Pepsi over Coca-Cola.
Hey.
I know Katina Man likes Pepsi as well, too. And Pepsi, get big Pepsi guy. All right. I don't know what that has to do with Pepsi. That has nothing to do with Pepsi. But hey, anyways, we'll get close. We'll get close to that, guys. We'll keep our eyes up 1.6% here today. Intel still hovering around, not doing too much. And then we're starting to get a slight pullback in Palantir. It's just weak, so we might have to avoid that one. I actually have my final doctor's appointment for my knee today at 3:15. Yeah, that's the final one, man. So we'll get through that one, hopefully.
But you're still doing physio, though, no?
I just do everything at home now.
You're not seeing a physio?
No, I did for like over like a month and a half.
Oh, so
I did. I was heavy into that, so I just took everything from there. So we'll get that done. We'll keep our eyes here on Bitcoin and what the overall market is.
What's your timeline like? So when are you going to start?
I'm being optimistic. I'm hoping that I can start running again by by middle of next month. But I won't be playing sports until 2027.
That's okay.
Yeah, maybe
because of the left to right kind of.
Yeah, the agility, right? The stability. Like it feels stronger, but I'm not risking it whatsoever.
Why would you, bro?
Yeah, and I tried. Like I jogged down my hall to go to the gym, but that's as far as I can really go. It just still doesn't feel right. I know I have to push it a little bit, but nonetheless, what's pushing right now is 1.7% to the top side here on IBIT, Sharif, and Palantir not breaking down to the levels in which I would like it to in order for me to take a potential long on this name. We get down to 129.85 through that. Ooh, what a big spike. So we are holding this trend. So maybe we can get involved in Palantir, but I have to risk south of this. Patience is extremely key, as I typically say. You're long AMD. Gorb, you better not be late on this one. We got to see what we got going on in AMD, 5-minute time frame. Yeah, okay, it's not bad. You can take that one for sure, but I would like to see it close a little bit more complete. Still some selling pressure stepping in. This volume-weighted average price is off more than you can imagine. So VWAP all the way up here. Maybe you can find somewhat of a bounce. There goes Intel to the top side. Bitcoin still hovering around that 141 level, or sorry, that $41 mark.
All right, guys, continuing to watch But I want to mention this one. Shout out to Cool Brioche, man. What a move by EOSE. It's not a big percentage winner, 26.8%. It's not a bad look, but it's at the day high, 585. It's been very respectful for the most part of trend, holding above the 10 EMA at the deepest for the retracements. It got into the 20 EMA and then found a lot of support. So EOSE is the ticker there up on the screen, about 27% in Greensville. I'm continuing to hold on, though, to ZNTL. I'm looking for a bigger move above 4. I think this did just barely price spike up right into 4. I'm not putting the print at 4, my profit-taking print. Looking for a bigger move. It's got higher lows, but it's certainly got resistance at 4. So it's going to be who wins out here, the longs or the shorts and or the profit takers into 4. So we'll keep a close eye on that as it tries to reattempt another 4 touch there. What are you guys talking about? BBGI taking off, says Zion Lala. Let's take a quick look at BBGI. Yeah, you guys are calling out great ones today, man. My scanner. Oh, what the hell is this? Yeah, you got a big volume spike there, Zion. Yeah, right through 620. I think it's 686. Is this halted? I can't quite tell. Yes. No, it's short still restricted. Hold on. Let me find out. BBGI. Yeah, halted 686, guys. Up 21% or thereabouts. So great look here on BBGI. We'll throw in the ticker, and we're going to have to put this up on the side chart as well. We'll take off AP or AGPU, BBGI. Good look on that one. Rainmaker says, you a Speedo guy or board shorts? Neither, man. Shorts. I don't like Speedos, and I don't like the board shorts. So a little bit in the middle there. What else? That's hilarious.
So
Taylor,
you're saying you got the 4-inch on.
you too big for you on KODK. Kodak's back? No way, KODK. Let's have a look. Yeah, not a bad look here on Kodak. A little light on vol, but up 5 3/4. Yeah, I don't mind this one too much, brother, but didn't really have a look at this one today. Didn't make it into the scanner, but yeah, Eastman Kodak, baby, on the NYSE, 1.178 billion market cap with a good trend. So not a bad look there. Shout out to Taylor. What else we got? That's it. So we're still holding ZNTL. We're still holding ARAI, but I'm certainly interested in getting in on EOSE at about 575. That's where I think a breakout level from 10.55.11 is, as well as the 10 EMA on the 5. So keep your eye out on that. EOSE at about 5 3/4. Hey, shout out to CityBoy305. What's up, fellas? Just popped in to see AFJK out of nowhere. What are you talking about? This one's moving now. Oh, my days.
Boy.
See what Afrojack is doing. You like Afrojack, Joey?
I couldn't tell you a song from them. Maybe
No?
if I heard a couple of things, I could say yes.
Well, it's up. AFJK. It's up. What the hell is this? What the hell is this?
Man.
It's up 173.25%. Is this an IPO? No, it's not IPO. AFJK. I don't know what the hell this is. I didn't see it on my scanner. Is it because of the volume? Yeah, 238,000 shares. That's why I didn't make it up on my scanner, but can't hate on this. Casey's probably all over this because it's a halt fest on AFJK. Up into about $80 high. I think it's trading, it's halted right now at 76.51, up 173.25%. Not a bad look there. What the hell is even that?
Palantir's gone, man. Oh.
It's gone, eh, Joey?
Yeah, it just didn't come to that zone. Like this shelf, it's not good to me, right? Like even though you can get in at the lower end, I wanted something. I know I have to talk to it because this would have been an absolute monster. And then off to the races, all the stars were aligning, and I didn't want to chase the price action. I mean, we talk about the volume by time profile, telling us exactly what we essentially want to see, but I never got the exact level that I wanted to. And with that being said, you miss out on this really, really good trade that could have been highly profitable for us on Palantir. So, I mean, it is what it is. We'll accept it because we wanted that precise entry and we weren't fortunate enough to get it, but off to the races it goes. At this pace, you're going to head into that 131 mark, but probably before you even get a pullback. So, yeah, Habibi Palantir, it's really rocking. And then you have another consolidation. Bitcoin had that volatility spike step in. You're up 1.7%. The market heading right back towards the high of the day. So these pullbacks have been relatively shallow, right?
Shallow
so
Hal? You ever watch Shallow Hal?
Years and years ago.
That's a movie.
That's with Jack Black, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a long time ago we watched Shallow Hal. That's definitely you're probably a teenager.
I thought it was hilarious, right?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it's a good.
It's like Joe Dirt time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Around that time.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit earlier, to be honest with you.
Dirt.
I'm Joe Dirt, Joe Dirt, man.
Dirt, this guy, delusional.
Yeah.
All right, there goes ARAI and ZNTL. They're both going. Here we go. Let's post at 30 for ARAI. I believe current bar high is 128, 129. So we need a little bit more here on ARAI as it reawakens and starts going closer to that high of the day. That is the high of the day, 130. Selling at 29. But honestly, kept me positive because it held the 10 EMA on the 5. It didn't breach it, not even on a wick basis. Let's see what kind of selling we're going to encounter here at the high of the day. So looking for another bigger move here, possibly into the third of a dollar. We're pretty close to the third. There's 30. It's got to cross now. Look at all the size coming at 30. Obviously, profit taking. You're going to get some short selling as well. 30 showing up again with less size this time around, but no continuation, sadly, through 30. How's ZNTL doing? We just got into an area high as well, 407. We're going to have to pause for a second, though, because Adara's got breaking news at the big desk.
GEMI, Gemini space station, pushing higher right now as we get reports from CoinDesk suggesting that potential buyers are evaluating a deal to acquire aspects of GEMI. That's, of course, the crypto exchange backed by the Winklevoss twins, Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss. GEMI, again, pushing higher on rumors of at least a partial acquisition for GEMI. Again, a company that went public less than a year ago.
Shout out to the Winklevoss twins. They're doing it live. There's the print on ARAI. Now we move up into 133. We're looking for continuation here on ARAI. I was going to call this ARAI, but no, you're not going to do that. ZNTL is getting a bit of a topping tail candle through 4. I'd really like for it to hold on to 4 here, man. Where are the buyers stepping in at 4? I do have a dip trade here for a little bit more at 88. I don't know if that level is quite valid now, though, just based upon the fact that the 10 EMA has moved up since I put that order in. So I may have to adjust that. And then separately, ONCO continues to bleed its own blood as this one is working down into that level we talked about, 175. That was the level we found resistance at. I want to say kind of between the late pre-market, early trading into 10, I want to say 1025, 1020. Now we're right back there. If we lose this 175, 170 level, we are probably headed into 150, which is the low end of that range. So if you can get your hands on some locates on ONCO, it is a good setup for now. But make sure you need to see how much these cost too, because you got to factor that in. EOSE, shout out to Cool Brioche. Shout out to everybody else who pointed out EOS to me today. Back into the day, freaking high on EOSE. It's looking fantastic at 585. We are, oh my God, Assassino. I didn't even realize because I'm in the trades, that's why.
You're in the zone.
I appreciate you. But there goes ARAI into the day high, 134. The breakout is now on. There's 137, Joey. Into the high we go on ARAI. It's breaking out here. This probably sees the $0.50 or thereabouts, okay? This is high 30s now. If we especially get into the low 40s, we're likely going to see the $0.50, but trade it carefully is a bamboozler. Lately, though, it's kind of lessened the bamboozlement a little bit, but we'll keep an eye out on that. Shout out to my man, the OG Darwin. We're going to keep an eye out on this one, Joe. I'm going to send it to you as we set up for the news.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to take a second attempt here. Maybe we can get a little bit of a move higher, but if it decides that it wants to climb and head back towards the high of the day, then by all means, right? Like, we just have to be prepared to get out. I do have a little bit of confidence in this working for us and breaking through that 60-50 mark. And I'm talking about Intel. You can see that we're short that. The first one that we took here, a nice little scalp on this name. But if it breaks through this top, then we're absolutely at a dodge on there. We're not going to hold up to its strong name, 2.7% here on the day. Trend holding. So it may not work out how we're thinking, but it's so choppy. At some point, the shelf being formed, I think, can snap, and then we can head a little bit lower. It did bounce right off of VWAP, but if buyers are fully engaged in this name, then we're not going to complain. Not the best trades put on here, essentially, for the past little while, to be honest with you. A little bit of a cold streak. Let's get out of Intel. It's not going to do what I want it to, I don't think, Adara.
Yeah, President Trump weighing in to see it, or NBC it looks like, on the potential of an Iran deal. He said that he's optimistic that an Iran peace deal is within reach, but if they don't make a deal, it will be, quote, very painful. So President Trump saying there is a potential here of a deal, and if there isn't, there will be dire consequences. He also said, quote, Iran's leaders talk much differently when you're at a meeting than they do to the press. They're much more reasonable, which is a similar claim that we heard from White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt yesterday as well. Again, these comments are being made to NBC. Back to you.
Believe that. Yeah. I think it goes both ways, though, right? Yeah, where he kind of, you know, maybe paints a more bright picture of the negotiations, and they paint a much bleaker picture, obviously, for both. It makes sense to do that. Sia, are we going to start this news or what?
We definitely are. Let's start by taking a look at Tesla. So Tesla is developing a smaller, cheaper SUV, and they're positioned right under the Model Y. So the SUV is expected to be 15% smaller and have a lower cost, so which is targeting a broader mass market audience. So now the production discussions are ongoing with the suppliers, and the potential timeline for the launch is set between 2026 to 2027. Now, Tesla previously has scrapped a low-cost EV program back in 2024, if you remember, and the company has heavily pivoted towards robotaxis and AI, as we're seeing in the coming day and age. And this, to me, looks like a partial reversal on the 2024 decision. It is, however, bringing back a spotlight on volume-driven EV sales growth. Another thing that I'm gauging from this is that Tesla is understanding the limits of relying solely on autonomy for near-term revenue. And this project is still in its early development ages. And Tesla does have a history of delaying and shifting priorities. So this could mean a rising execution risk from what I'm seeing here. But Tesla's ability to compete in the fast-growing, affordable EV segment is also something that I'm taking a look at here.
I feel like he's doing this begrudgingly, because under no circumstances are you going to convince me that Elon Musk is going to be able to compete with the BYDs and the other Chinese EVs in terms of price. Okay, they're going to undercut you. Okay. We know that they have heavy government subsidies, not like we don't have government subsidies in North America for EVs. I think that's a big misnomer, especially in this country where we're financing battery plants specifically for EVs. But I don't think he's doing this because he thinks it's going to be a moneymaker. I just think he needs to keep the car business afloat while he transitions so that the market doesn't make him pay any more than it already has. That's just kind of my feeling, because when you watch the keynote for Elon at the Terafab kind of announcement, he got on the stage, I think it was 25 minutes, half an hour, and I've heard very, very little in how any of these chips are really going to help in the EV business. He spoke a lot about autonomy, which obviously includes EVs, vis-a-vis the robotaxi, and of course Optimus, where we know he's now focusing. So I think Elon's mind is very much occupied, and he spoke heavily about, how did I miss this? Data centers in space, because now obviously with SpaceX and then the merger with XAI. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think that this is going to be a needle mover in terms of profit. I think it may, get deliveries back up. That may help in the erosion of the market share. But you're not going to convince me, Joey, that he's going to outdo the Chinese in terms of pricing and being. Do you know what some of these BYDs are coming to this country at? Yeah. This country, not even, they may never make it to the States. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But they're coming here in the mid-20s. Bruh.
Yeah, but it's going to be like it's going to be like 3% of our total market. We only get 50,000 of them coming here. How quick do you think they're going to be swallowed up? Those 20.
They're going to get swallowed up. Okay, go to Adara, and then I got a comment here from the chat we want to get to.
We have Michael Burry striking again here. Now, I think this is worth mentioning because of how much Palantir has sold off for the last couple days after Burry's comments, a sell-off that has been attributed to Burry's comments, but this time he's targeting Intuit, INTU, at day's lows here. Michael Burry on Substack saying that he believes their GAAP earnings are overstated by 33% and their forward PE is actually in the high 20s. So negative note for INTU coming through from Michael Burry. Guys, this is fair warning, like a $350 stock, but big move to the downside for Intuit.
Great comments from you guys there in the chat. Dave Geisler, I think. I hope I didn't butcher your last name there, Dave. Sharif, come on, man. Saying a Tesla is like a BYD is saying a prime rib steak is like poison baby food. Why did you have to use that analogy, man? But your point's well taken. You're asking me which one I think is better. I'm not saying I think BYD is better than Tesla, although I do feel that they have some great innovations coming out of that country. But the fact of the matter is, man, you know, consumers right now, they really got to look at the pocketbook more than they're going to look at, you know, which one is better in terms of quality in the long run, post-warranty, this and that. So I see your point, and I don't disagree with your point at all. ARAI's tanking here, coming back into 133, so we got to be careful with that. But I don't think it's also necessarily that easy. Bobby Posey, y'all are so funny. Anytime the stock is down, you're like, it's dead. You should be buying it. Brother, I'm not crapping on Tesla. I'm not. I'm talking about this headline here, that I don't think whatever this smaller Model Y that he's talking about making here is really going to be a needle mover in terms of profit. I think he's doing it to appease and assuage some of the fears that he has with his analysts. What do you think?
But dude, it's like, hey, we crap on Tesla. You got to take into consideration, like, there's two sides to every coin. And we talk about this all the time, Strait. What he has down the pipeline, phenomenal, cool. You have the RoboCab, you have Optimus, that's great. But what are we looking at right now? What do we have from a bottom line standpoint to take into consideration? You can make multiple variations of essentially the same vehicle. I don't think that's going to change things very much. So with Tesla, right now, I think it's a little bit more difficult to like until you start recording Optimus sales, until you start recording robotaxi sales. Agreed. What are you going off of,
But can we agree that scalability here
there's no question
absolutely supports robotics over cars?
It's not. That's not in question. That's not in question. He has everything aligned, but he's not producing them yet. We talk about his timelines, always optimistic, but at the end of the day, tends to be a little bit longer than what he's actually going to release them. I don't know if that necessarily hurts him, but we don't have Optimus sales. We don't have how much the margins. We have nothing along those lines. So what are we going off of? You're talking about the Cybertruck. Cool. Like, how many of those things did he actually sell? Now you have no production in the X and S, and then also you have the Model Y and the Model 3 with different variations of it. That's not going to do it for me, essentially. Yeah, buy the stock when it's down. That's great. You can look at the what he has down the pipeline.
I think it's going to be a different car completely, Joey, though. I don't think it's going to be like a Model Y. Remember we saw the Model 3 and the Model Y standard?
Dude, so what he's going to discontinue is completely different.
No, he's not going to discontinue, but he's going to make a new model.
No, but I was saying, no, he's discontinued the X and the S to put in a new model that's essentially cheaper.
I think the S and the X was for robotics, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, right? You know what so at the end of the day, I'm not crapping on the stock. You just have to take it for what it is right now. And unfortunately, it's just losing market share left, right, and center in the EV space.
That's a fact. What do we got, Sia?
Yeah, we're talking about Meta next. So Meta has introduced MuseSpark, which is its first major AI model under the Super Intelligence Labs, which is a new venture led by Alexander Wang. And the model is designed to be smaller, faster, and more efficient. But it'll also be capable of handling complex reasoning tasks. And coming from their website right now, we're also releasing contemplating mode, which orchestrates multiple agents that reason in parallel. This will allow MuseSpark to compete with the extreme reasoning models of frontier models like Gemini DeepThink and GPT Pro. So this is being built after a full rebuild of Meta's AI stack, and Meta is not positioning MuseSpark just as a frontier leading model, but also a high-efficiency scalable alternative. And now from what I gauge here, the focus here is more on practical deployment and integration rather than just chasing raw leadership. So Meta is guiding between $115 billion to $135 billion in 2026 AI capex, which is nearly double their prior spending levels. And this reflects an a positive aggressive push to close the gap between hyperscaler peers in AI infrastructure alone, and AI remains the core driver of long-term monetization, especially in fields like ads, automation, and new services. However, Meta is also testing paid API access for MuseSpark. Now, this will, in the early stages, happen via select partners only. And this model will power Meta AI across apps like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, standalone Meta AI app, and desktop, and also Ray-Ban smart glasses and future AI video tools. But Meta, however, is still lagging in its AI frontier leadership. And this heavy spending does raise a little bit of risks for margin pressure if monetization lags.
Just more headlines here, guys, with regards to oil that I think it's worth keeping you guys apprised of. Fars News Agency, so this is an Iranian state agency, just be aware, reporting that apparently the Islamic Republic ruling out negotiations with the U.S. They want to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed until a full ceasefire is established in the aforementioned contentious area of Lebanon. And I say contentious because, again, whether or not this was included in the ceasefire does not appear to be a source of agreement between the U.S. and Israel side of things and the Iran side of things. Furthermore, this agency actually also reporting that one of the operational options at the table is to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. So it looks like Strait of Hormuz closure either back on the table or remaining here. Just be aware. Back to you.
Can you answer the question for me? What happened to avocado? Weren't we supposed to get, wasn't that the next?
I don't see anything.
I don't see any avocados
to
to in, but that was very appropriate though, because there were fruit
salad
and avocado. Is that avocado a vegetable or fruit?
I think it's a fruit. It's a fruit. No,
I have no idea, bro. But there goes ZNTL into the day high of 410. We wet the beak at 409. This one's on its horse, likely up into 4.25. Keep your eye out on it, especially if it holds 4. So I don't know what's going on with the previous model avocado, but okay, looks like we're moving on to MuseSpark now. I like the fact that this is coming out of the Superintelligence Lab, which is being headed by Alexander Wang. Alexander Wang, in case you don't know, he was leading Scale AI. Scale AI was the company that created labels for everything. These LLMs, they don't like to look at pictures and decipher what they are when they're learning. In the output stage, of course it does. But it likes labels for things. So it can be like, oh, this is an apple? Okay, so I don't have to look at it and decipher as an apple. That's what Scale did. And my understanding was Zuck purchased them to hamstring all his employees, or his competitors, sorry, by about 6 to 8 months. And there goes ZNTL again. Here we go, guys. This is up into 414. High a day now is 420. Shout out to my 420 guys out there. Looking for a little bit more. We're looking for another nice price spike up on ZNTL. Let's see if we can get some continuation on this monster. It's a good look for this one, but we'll pack the patience. Anyway, I don't mind getting different iterations so you can get your model right.
Yeah.
What I really want to focus on is, why is he
bouncing around?
Yes, but let me make my point about what he's bouncing around in. Why is he focusing on messaging like large language models? Why is he not focusing on agentic AI?
Yeah.
Things that can get done. You already know, brother, that you're behind on the actual models. Why are you spending so much time catching up? Right? And then even if you get a good product, you don't even know if you're going to have mass adoption because you're late to the freaking party. Get the agents so that they integrate with Instagram. They integrate with WhatsApp and Facebook, and they can do things on your behalf. They can monitor things on your behalf. Like, think about an agent, for example, that would immediately message you on Messenger if a product came out on Marketplace that you were looking for. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have to like doom scroll looking for it forever. Like, just that's a dumbass one. But it's one that just popped up top of my head.
And it's funny because I was thinking the exact same thing this morning, Sharif. It's like, hey, what are you looking for from an integration standpoint? Because you're already late to the party, and you have to take into consideration people who are already standing by the ChatGPTs, the Claudes, and the other LLMs. So you're this late to the dance. How are you going to sway people to move from what they're currently using right now and comfortable with to start using your product when you've already proven that it hasn't worked very well in the past? We talked about it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's like the Apple ecosystem.
I agree with you, man.
So like, what are you going to do from a launching standpoint standpoint that is really going to attract the consumer. You already have this massive platform. Do exactly what you said and start implementing within that, because you have how many monthly active users? Like in the billions.
Exactly. And you know that they're using your platform, not theoretically that they may want to start using Muse or Avocado or Llama or whatever.
Why would they want to use any when it's proven that it hasn't been good already?
Exactly.
It's been the worst one.
Multiple botched releases.
It's been the worst one.
But there's some good points here. So Hypercube brings up a good point. You got to have LLMs before you can make them agents. Also, they don't want IP issues. And then you've got Ryan Carlos, because agents need an LLM and Meta wants to use their own LLM. I get all that, right? What's going on, Katina Man? Katina Man's singing. He's singing the Drake song. Shut up. The Katina Man's now out of Amazon as a long, right? It's up big today, yeah. Just $9 there. There it is on the screen. It'll be in the lesson of the day. So if you guys make sure you're here after the midday show, Katina Man, it's just one of you, right, that do the lesson? He's at the screen today. So make sure you're hanging around for the lesson of the day.
But as for Zuck, man, he was snatching talent left, right, and center. And I talked about this as soon as he was doing that. It's like you have to want to look forward to some of the products that he's going to be releasing, because the worst case scenario, and we can talk about it, is that you have another metaverse, right? I just think he has too much talent around him for that to essentially happen. But there's still a chance that his launches may not be as successful as he would like them to be.
I think that's probably a good chance.
Like a high, yeah.
Well,
better than none.
If history's any guide. Anyway, I think we beat this to death and crapped on Zuck, which I don't mean to do.
Shout out Freds and him obviously partnering up with the UFC. So I mean,
Freds.
Yeah.
Freds. Yeah. That's the one you chose. Nobody's on Threads.
But apparently they are, man.
Are they actually?
They thread in on the UFC fights.
All right, Amazon, see you.
Yeah, Amazon. So Amazon has disclosed that its cloud AI business is now running at 15 billion plus annual revenue Q1 in 2026. Now, this marks the first direct financial breakdown of AI returns. In an April 2026 letter to the shareholders of the company and some company updates, CEO of Amazon, Andy Jassy, has emphasized that the AI revenue is ascending rapidly. Now, this can be signaling as an early stage monetization, which is already accelerating. Now, this indicates that AWS is transitioning from heavy investment phase into an early payoff phase in its AI cycle. So let's take a dive into Amazon's chip business. Amazon's in-house chips, two of them, Trainium and Graviton, are now at a $20 billion annual run rate, which has doubled from $10 billion earlier this year. Now, the strong demand here is suggesting that AWS could eventually sell AI chips externally, which will open a new revenue stream beyond its internal use. And this positions Amazon as a vertically integrated AI infrastructure player, potentially competing with NVIDIA. AWS has generated $128.7 billion in revenue in 2025 alone, which is a 20% increase year over year, with expectations to exceed $142 billion in this year, 2026 alone. And AI is expected to drive AWS towards a $600 billion long-term revenue target, which is double to its prior estimates.
The reason I really like this, I don't know how you feel, but what I really liked about this article was the fact that they were quantifying the amount of AI-specific revenue that they made, right? It wasn't just cloud where we kind of mixed neo-cloud with traditional cloud. It was AI revenue. And why is that so important? Not to crap on Meta anymore, that we already just crapped on it in the previous story, but we always pointed out, you and I both, Microsoft, Amazon, Google have a short-term runway for revenue, for CapEx monetization for all their AI, because they're gonna offer you AI products vis-a-vis their clouds, right? And so now we're getting the actual proof in the pudding. $15 billion annual revenue for 2026. Obviously, that doesn't come close to the 100 and I think 80 or 60 that they're gonna spend.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But the point is, that's why those three, I think, can see short to intermediate term revenue and Meta can't.
And that's what you want to see, right? Like, this is what you're looking for, is that return on investment. Like, why are you spending this much money if you're not going to see anything along those lines? And it's expected to grow exponentially. Those custom chips, Sharif, could be a massive game changer for Amazon, essentially. So I really like what they got going on with AWS. That's one of my favorite. I think it's the second largest or maybe third behind cloud and Azure. But whatever Jassy has going on, he's making the steps in the right direction, and he's full force ahead. He's like, we're willing to spend this money because eventually we're going to see it in return tenfold, essentially.
Agree. Ram is like, crap on it more. I hate Meta. All right, Ram.
You have Instagram, Ram.
She does. She has all the social media. She's the social media
exactly.
dominator on these parts.
Whoa.
So she better have it, man. We also see here, look, Geo Harak Shades, probably butcher your name. I don't mean to. Brother, Meta is growing at 33%. Look at the numbers. Brother, that is not what we're talking about. We're talking about AI CapEx monetization. You can't say that the money that Meta spent, right, or this year, or will spend this year, and what they spent last year has, or their revenue, sorry, let me say that again. You can't say Meta's revenue that they've realized this year and last year would not been realized if they didn't spend all that money on CapEx. What percentage do you think of their CapEx that they've spent on AI, building out data centers, have they realized in terms of increased revenue, at least in the last 2 years? I would guess it's pretty small. It doesn't mean they're not profitable. They're a monster in advertising. We know that. 97% of their revenue comes from digital ad sales, right? Where the point I was trying to make in the previous comparison between Amazon, Google, and Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, sorry, and the difference between Meta is that they have a cloud division that they can monetize their AI CapEx with enterprise buyers, not consumers. And enterprise, obviously, it's got the big money. And so that's kind of what I meant there. Not arguing that Meta is growing nicely on a year-over-year basis. Couldn't agree with you more on that. And I just want to mention something. ARAI just got into the high of the day again. We wet the beak there at 140. This one's on its way likely to 150. Keep your eye on this one. Not a bad look on ARAI. Bamboozling in the beginning, but it seems to have found its rhythm here, holding above the 10 EMA on the 5 for, I want to say, the last hour and a half, hour and change. So keep an eye out on that. What do you think about any other things you want to mention here? Or
as for Andy Jassy and company, no, I mean, I think we touched base on everything. This is what you want to see from these hyperscalers. Like, you're spending all of this money. Where are the efficiencies? We already know that they laid off 30,000 employees as well, too. So what is that going to do? I think that's going to help margin improvement. And that's the whole narrative of essentially this AI build-out. Efficient, and then see a return on investment as well, too.
I like the vertical integration as well, making in-house chips, right?
Yeah.
Building the data centers internally.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Well, I mean, we've talked about it before, the fact that it's a little bit more difficult to do so, but with what Amazon's got going on, they may be proving otherwise. Not to crap on Meta anymore, but they've been struggling on the in-house chips.
Which we know that.
So it's just like, man, things are getting worse for Mark and company. Well, you see the other big participants, that being the Googles with their TPU, their tensor processing unit, and now you have Amazon as well, too. And then you also, Microsoft. So it's lagging, but these guys are looking pretty optimistic.
All right, some more headlines coming in from the Middle East. What do we got, Adara, with respect to Amazon?
I'll talk about the Middle East headlines. I had one of them up on the screen for a couple minutes there, but we do have Iran State TV reading out a statement attributed to the current Supreme Leader, Khamenei, the son of the former Supreme Leader. He said that Iran is not seeking a war, but they're not going to forfeit their rights. That's the only thing of note I've seen come from the statement that came through a couple of minutes ago. People are talking about the drop in oil. I'm not seeing really any other news. I've brought you guys everything I've seen. Again, if that changes, if I get more from Iran's Supreme Leader, I will keep you all posted. Amazon had another story today, though, and I think it was kind of an interesting one. It came out intraday. It was this 1109 or 1112 candle story on AMZN. You get this spike to the upside. I mean, obviously, Amazon was already running, but I do think this extra news story gave it a little jolt that it needed to continue its run. And let's talk about it because it's interesting, and I think it's pretty cool. They're going to be continuing their expansion into Mississippi with a $25 billion investment. for some data centers, guys. This is another AI-related story. This is going to lead to the creation of 2,000 jobs. Now, I think this is especially exciting because, A, they announced that they're going to be 100% committed to the cost, so you're less likely to worry about state interference, but you're even less likely to worry about state interference when your governor is Tate Reeves. So shout out to the people of Mississippi. Now, you might be wondering, Adara, who is this man and why is he important here? So I was kind of curious. I looked into, the state government here and the governor of Mississippi because I wanted to know if Amazon would have an easy or a tough time with the data centers here. And it turns out this is going to be really smooth sailing because he loves AI. Tate Reeves loves AI. He once said, and I'm going to change the wording here to make it a little bit less extreme, but he basically said that if you reject AI data centers, you are basically allowing civilization to let itself die off. Like, he really, really loves data centers, this guy Tate Reeves. Furthermore, in June of 25, the state of Mississippi actually signed a memorandum of understanding with NVIDIA. So he loves AI. He's definitely going to give Amazon all the help they need for these data centers. Nice announcement intraday for AMZN. I think it's a good look for the company, and it certainly, I think, helped the stock, at least in part.
He's obviously a little hyperbole there, but the point is well taken. Like, have you seen some of these like AI dooms people, like your friend Bernie Sanders? I mean, he just wants to stop everything because, like, look, rightfully, he should be worried about it taking people's jobs. But let me tell you something, bro. You stop development or you start putting restrictions on that, you know what your competitor's doing?
Yeah.
He's growing his margins.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's going to employ AI to no end. And we know exactly who we're talking about,
If you don't do it, somebody else will.
And they'll eat your lunch in a heartbeat. And so that's kind of the delusions that I don't understand. You have to keep going forward here. There's not going to be any global regulation against AI taking people's jobs. This is just the reality of the situation. If you don't do it, your competitor will. Yeah. They'll make more money. They'll have better products. And where are you going to be at?
Right, yeah, exactly. You're going to be scratching your head like, what's going on? I mean, as for regulation, I think there will be an issue in the next story that we're going to talk about there because there's always something going on over there, Sharif. Adara.
Yeah, we have more headlines here in the Middle East, more comments from Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei saying that, once again, Iran is seeking compensation for damages from the war. They are, quote, waiting for an appropriate reaction from their southern neighbors. They also apparently are moving to a new stage in managing the Strait of Hormuz. So, once again, management of the Strait of Hormuz being mentioned. Once I get more details on what this new stage is and what said management will entail, I'll let you know. But either way here, these headlines do continue, and I'll keep you all posted.
All right, see ya. What do we got next?
We're talking about how OpenAI's Stargate project is currently delayed. And now, just a quick update though, OpenAI is updating their ChatGPT Pro and Plus subscriptions to better support the growing queues of codecs. Just came out on their tweet. But anyway, diving into the story, OpenAI has paused its Stargate AI infrastructure project in UK due to high energy costs and regulatory hurdles. So this project originally was planned to deploy up to 8,000 GPUs in partnership with NVIDIA and Nscale. And OpenAI has confirmed that the project is not canceled, but contingent on certain right conditions for their long-term investment. Now, according to reports, the project had been expected to be based across a number of sites, including Cobalt Park, which will form part of the newly designated AI growth zone in the Northeast. And OpenAI's statement at the time read this: the company has also flagged energy pricing as a major bottleneck, which reinforces how the power demand is becoming a limiting factor for their AI expansion. So while I was doing a little research on this, I found that the UK is moving away from their 2023 voluntary approach towards the formal statutory framework, and the country will likely require developers for the most powerful AI models to undergo mandatory pre-release testing. So coming back to this, the regulatory environment in the UK is now seen as less favorable and large-scale infrastructure for the large-scale AI infrastructure deployment. Now, this does highlight a growing theme that AI build-out is now being constrained by physical infrastructure, not just capital. But OpenAI is still in discussions with partners and maintains a long-term interest in UK market and continues to invest in talent and local presence, which includes research operations in London.
I don't know how I feel about this. I feel I'm kind of caught between two minds. I feel, obviously, we know the UK and Europe in general, a much more, let's say, robust regulatory environment. They're willing to intervene a lot more in business than maybe the United States or certain administrations of the United States. So that obviously dissuades certain tech companies from wanting to invest because regulatory burdens equals lesser margins, or in essence, it does get to that. But then, like, you start wondering about the timing of this sort of announcement that they're not going to build out this data center in the UK, and you start maybe looking at a little bit of the tensions between the United Kingdom and the United States over the past, let's say, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
If you get my drift.
Yeah.
You think that has anything to do with that?
Probably not.
Probably not. You think it has more to do with regulation?
I think so, man. To be honest with you, like, we've been over this. You know how the UK is. These guys are consistently fining American companies. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. The bigger you are, the more they're going to obviously fine you. And if you're Google's, you're the Amazons, Microsoft, they're a slap. Meta as well too. Just consistently under regulatory pressure from the UK. This doesn't surprise me. It says it's not canceled, but there's just so many hurdles that they have to go over that it just doesn't, like, it's like, hey, you're making things more difficult, and it leads to your point, Sharif, where it's like, okay, at what point and how much are we gonna have to pay, and essentially for the bureaucracy of things in order for us to actually build this out. And I think that's why it sways a lot of these major companies building these massive data centers, that we know that the UK is lagging, but we know that over-regulation can be crippling at times.
100%. Oh, God, yeah.
How would we know about that?
No, we have no idea. No, but I want to build on your point. The fact that they say that they're still interested long-term, that is something I'd say, too, obviously, in a country that's democratic and that could have an entirely different government, which I'm hearing reform is booming up in the polls. I'm just saying that they're getting a lot of support because people are moving away from the conservative, because the conservatives have that whole history that the Brits don't really want to deal with. So it would make sense for them to, or an Altman and company, to be like, yeah, of course we're still interested in the United Kingdom. Should a government come in that is more friendly to regulation and that will allow us to operate in a more laissez-faire way, like we can in the United States? Yeah, so I don't know. I think that absolutely makes sense, but we'll have to wait and see whether this is, politically motivated or is really about regulation.
Yeah, it's definitely probably a little bit of both, to be honest with you.
People are yelling about DKI. So I'm just going to take a quick look here at DKI before we go to the next story.
I want to bring up one more thing here.
Go for it, Joey. What do we got here on DKI? A nice break, guys. Okay, nice. Good recovery there. Watch out for a VWAP rejection, okay? So it's working up to VWAP. I think let's just bring it in on the black charts over here just before we go to the next story. Take out, who are we going to take out, man? ELAB. ELAB's done bupkis. DKI. Yes, okay, so it's cleared VWAP. It's done this a bunch. Right? Look at these price spikes up and then moves back down. So ride it while it's hot, baby, because, once it gets up at some of these levels, you can have an immediate retracement all the way down. But good call out by you guys, DKI of 63%. What do you got, Joey?
Yeah, so I wanted to bring this up here, just considering we're talking about Sam Altman and OpenAI. We talk about a paid tier introducing a new $100 a month ChatGPT. I don't think it's the tier system that's really going to make this name live up to essentially its valuation. It's the ad revenue. Do you see what they're projecting by 2030?
No.
100 billion.
100 billion per year?
Yeah. So, by 2030.
By 2030.
Total. So approximately 20 billion, 2.5 billion this year. So that's going to grow exponentially. 100 billion a year is quite a bit, but I think that's what really takes ChatGPT to that next level, because we know with the metas, right? Where does the majority of the revenue come from? Digital ad revenue.
I like your point.
And that's what we want to see from Sam Altman's
I like your point. But I want to say that what I've been reading is that OpenAI is kind of panicking internally, because what they didn't do was focus on enterprise like Anthropic did.
Yeah.
And now Anthropic's getting all these different government contracts, commercial contracts.
Eating their lunch. Yeah.
Because they didn't focus so much on customer or consumer. They focused more on enterprise. And now you're seeing Altman trying to pivot internally to focus on enterprise.
Would that have anything to do with it being open and closed source? Because essentially it was supposed to be an open source thing. Sam Altman closed it, which would have allowed him to do that, but he obviously had that big rift with Elon Musk and everything else.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, that's kind of what my understanding is, that there was kind of a panic internally, because they were like, wow, look, all the revenue that Anthropic is generating, and based on their dealings with enterprise. So anyway, what are we talking about next, Sia?
we're talking about U.S. President Donald Trump has signaled that the U.S. forces will remain deployed around Iran. So now this reinforces a certain persistent military presence regardless of the ceasefire efforts. But in a Truth Social post yesterday, he warned any violation of the agreement would trigger a bigger and a better and a stronger than anyone has ever seen before military response, which is currently keeping the geopolitical risk a bit elevated. So this to me is suggesting that it's not a de-escalation phase, but it's more of a fragile pause with a higher risk. So the context for this is that a 2-week ceasefire was brokered by Pakistan and temporarily halted the 6 weeks conflict, which sparked an initial relief rally. But Israel has continued intense strikes in Lebanon, signaling that the conflict is spreading beyond Iran. But we just did hear through Israel's Channel 13 that it will be easing strikes in Lebanon due to the pressure from the U.S. But the broader Middle East instability is increasing risk to energy infrastructure and global supply. So the oil rally is right in front of us, and I was observing the market yesterday with the energy all in the red, but we are seeing a bit of a pullback. USO currently down 0.29%.
All right, so I have two thoughts about this one. Interest rate expectations, now possibly interest rate hikes if the war goes on longer, and the price of oil remains elevated. So that is definitely one of the variables I think we all should be looking at, because that can fundamentally change the economy, especially if we get rate hikes, as opposed to at least nothing or possibly rate cuts this year. The other thing is, I was reading another really interesting article on the way back yesterday. Listen to this, or the day before. So they're saying that a lot of ships that leave the Strait of Hormuz, so say they leave Kuwait, they leave Saudi, wherever, they're from that Gulf area, right? And then they go through the Strait. Some of them take about 2 months almost to get to their destination because they're slow, okay? And so what they're saying is there's still supply that left about 6 weeks ago, give or take, that's still arriving at these ports. So the supply issue hasn't shown up as much. I know it's hurting some Asian countries, I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it's not being felt as much as when those ships arrive, and then there's nothing. There's gonna be that 6 to 8 week leg of no new ships that are arriving. So now we have a price problem, right?
So the blocking of the blood flow is essentially there right now, but it's still moving to where it needs to be.
It's moving.
Exactly.
Because they've already left.
Yeah.
And some of them are still arriving at their destinations, which is interesting. I didn't look at it from that perspective.
But it was funny because we were talking about like Australia, like running extremely low.
Philippines, India.
Everyone on that side of the
Don't
planet.
even forget China, which depends heavily, Japan. All these Asian countries really rely on that Middle Eastern oil. Right? So anyway, I thought that would be interesting. We'll see, exactly. I see your point there, JL 822. We'll see. It's gonna be a while before I think we see ships that leave. Let's just say they leave today or they leave tomorrow. It's gonna take 6 to 8 weeks for them to get to their destination. Is kind of what I'm saying there. So there will be
so that period of time we'll see some more increases essentially at the pumps as well.
Because it's a world price.
Yeah.
All right. Hold on. Before we send to Adara for her take on this whole thing, we're gonna shout out Mopart for life. Sia, you see this? $10 super chats. Congrats to Sia. She's really locked in and has come a long way since her first day. The reporting is a lot smoother. Nice improvement. $1 Starbucks for you. All right, get it, Sia.
Thank you.
$10.
Take it over, Sia. Oh, actually, let's send it to Adair for her take on this issue.
Yeah, so honestly, I'm not going to go over every oil headline we had today. Oh, no. I'm not going to go over every oil headline we had today because we had so many, and that would be just like a massive reaction of things. I think the biggest thing that happened new today is now you've got 2 sets of negotiations, right? You've got U.S. and Iran, and then you've got also, at the same time, Lebanon and Israel. Now, the latter of these, Lebanon and Israel, the oil actually made its biggest move all day once we officially, got word from Netanyahu that happened right here that he'd be opening negotiations with Lebanon. That was by far the biggest move, I think, in USO all day. And yet since then, USO doesn't really seem how it wants to react to any of these headlines. Already, Israel's saying it's thinking Lebanon's going to continue to strike. And Lebanon basically said, yeah, we don't really want a ceasefire. We want to continue to have a bombardment, as they said, as these negotiations happen. So it's a really tough look, guys. And I think also I was talking to someone in the chat, I think T-Money, who was asking, okay, why isn't USO really reacting anymore? Honestly, I think it's like when NVIDIA, when NVIDIA used to react really hard to those China headlines? right? Like every time there was a risk of its China chip sales, it would have a big drop. I just don't think, I think USO is getting tired, much like NVIDIA was with those China headlines, and that's why I don't think it's reacting as much as it once did. And again, things change at least a little bit, like every other headline, so I think it's tough to react. I think right now USO is sitting it out. That being said, I think if we get another massive headline, a big change in the tide, I think we're more likely to get a big move. Hopefully, this makes a little bit of sense. Hopefully, I've been able to keep you all apprised of these headlines, and stick with us because I will continue to be dropping said headlines as often as they come, which has been very often as of late.
Hi, trader. Another $10 for Sia. Also, another cup for the red-headed queen. Do you consider yourself a redhead, Sia? Oh, it's for, oh, sorry. I was completely confused there. Yeah, so it is for Adara. My mistake, sorry. Adara's.
Oh, no, I was going to say, well, no one really has red hair here.
I don't, neither does Adara.
It kind of looks like, it looks like it, though. Like, you can see a little
It's a fading red.
Yeah.
You're a redhead? Yeah, I'm a redhead too.
Right.
Either way, you get more money here, and there's even more coming in. Can't leave Adara out. I'm sure she's a great teacher, too. She is. Spinning the money here. Mopar dropping another 10 there.
Speedos for Sharif.
Oh, no.
Speedos
That's you, my boy. That's you, my boy. Mr. 4-inch shorts to the gym. At least I wear those 4-inch shorts to the beach.
Yeah, so what is it? So it matters where we're wearing them now?
Yeah. You can't be walking in a bikini in the mall. It's contextually inappropriate.
I don't know, man. I think that's a little bit debatable. To be honest with you.
All right, shout out to my man. We love you, man. I appreciate that. That's kind of you there. That is funny, though, Joey. I just want to mention, guys, DKI is absolutely going ham. It is going ham. The breakout is on. It's at 75 penny. Oh, no. Stop, bro. I'm trying to talk about DKI.
I don't want to go too hard. Okay.
Yeah,
Katina, man, I'm peeling over here, brother, because look. Hold on.
What am I looking at?
You gotta put that
Peeling.
sunscreen.
Okay.
My boy.
You should go to the gym more often.
Katina, man, good vibes. I appreciate you. All right, guys. What pink Speedos for Sharif? Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
Isn't that like a normal thing in Australia? What do they call them?
I think it's probably Europe. No?
In Australia, the Australians are big on
Speedo
the pink Speedo life. I know Speedos are big in Australia.
Are they actually, though?
Yeah.
I've never been to Australia.
Me neither.
Yeah. So we're gonna do
Timu leggings for Sean.
Timu leggings
$5. That's
man,
crazy.
you thought it as well. Timu leggings for sure. That's crazy, man.
That's crazy.
I don't even know what that means. I haven't ever seen the Katina man in leggings, but that. Thank you very much for that very kind super chat. You guys are amazing. Appreciate you guys. There's a couple of minutes left. Sia, do you want to go through the last story? Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's talk about the last story. Occidental Petroleum has announced a new oil discovery at the Bandit Prospect in the Gulf of Mexico. So now this is located 125 miles off of Louisiana, which will help reinforce the Gulf as a key domestic production hub. So Oxy is holding a 45.375% working interest and is the operator of the project. Now, partners for this project also include Chevron, 37.125%, and Woodside Energy at 17.5%. So this discovery can be tied into existing offshore infrastructure via subsea tiebacks, now lowering development costs and timelines. Co-owners are still evaluating results and next steps. So this means that production timeline for this is still uncertain. Management has emphasized that the Gulf production is critical domestic energy source, which will support U.S. energy security, but this comes amid the ongoing geopolitical tensions as we know it and concerns over the Strait of Hormuz supply production. Sending it back to you.
Very important, obviously, for domestic production. We know the United States wants to be energy independent. So far, I think my understanding is they're producing the same amount that they're using per day, and they're also selling. Now they've got Venezuela as a willing partner. Obviously, Canada's always been a willing partner. There's also speculation that the Keystone Pipeline might be restarted and moved back up. We'll have to wait and see what Prime Minister Carney says about this whole thing. But I see it going off in the chat. Yes, Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico. We get the whole thing.
But that's the thing that I find funny is that a couple of the articles' headlines start with the Gulf of America and the other ones start with the Gulf of Mexico.
Well, probably depending on the source of where they were written, right?
Yeah.
So if like it was written in Canada or Europe, right?
Well, I don't think anyone other than the Americans would actually. People in Mexico who ain't saying
It's
that.
in both. You see Google Maps?
Yeah, it's both. It's literally both. Yeah, it's literally both.
It's funny.
Thanks, man.
For Joey's knee.
I appreciate you, Mopar.
Mopar
man.
is dropping.
I felt left
She's
out
having a
there.
good day
Yeah,
today.
I felt left out there a little bit.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Mopar.
Shout out to Mopar for life. $5 for Joey's knee. Joey, do you like the fact that Occidental's working with Chevron and Woodside? So looks like Oxy's got about 45 1/3%. Chevron